John Deere, digging deep with modders so their voices we can hear. From giants of the code to the artists painting skies, he's shining up their stories like a brand new combine. It's Farm Sim Talk with BDD. Come pull up a chair and ride along with me. Stories from the makers, the builders of the scene. Farm Sim Talk, where we live the farming dream. From tractors to textures, from silos to sounds, there's a whole crew of heroes making this world go round. So tune in and find out who's behind the screen. Farm Sim Talk's the place to see what farming really means. It's Farm Sim Talk with BDD. Come pull up a chair and ride along with me. Stories from the makers, the builders of the scene. Farm Sim Talk, where we live the farming dream.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the channel. This is Big Daddy Dave, and this is Farm Sim Talk, a show where we get to talk to other creators within the Farm Sim community and find out a little bit more about them. Tonight, I am joined here by DTap Gaming. DTap, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right. How about you?
I am doing fantastic. Thank you so much for asking. So, you want to let us know where we can find you and whatnot?
Biggest, easiest one to cover would be DTapGaming.com. All my socials for everything else are at the bottom of that, so it'd be the easiest one to reach out to me on or find
Excellent.
any of my mods on.
Excellent, excellent. And do you want to give any shout outs before we get going?
Shout out to Burkle from Kick. All right.
There we go. And how about you give us just a little bit of who you are and what it is that you do within the Farm Sim community? Because not everybody may know who you are.
Yeah, and most of them probably wouldn't have it had it not been for Star. So my name is DTap. I started back on FS19 as a modder for Farm Sim, and I mostly did things just for friends. At certain point, stuff kind of got leaked, so we'll get into that later. But yeah, I have quite a few different mods. Not a lot, but enough where you could tell I was doing it in my free time back in those days. And 25, it kind of grew a little bit, and I ran into Star, who wanted some help with a map, and I started helping with it and blew it completely away, and he actually ended up asking me to become partner on it, and then I ended up doing so much of it that he made me primary author of it.
Gotcha, gotcha. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started. We've got the first segment here. It's called Digging Up Dirt. This is where we're going to get to know you for who you are outside of your mods and what you do here within the community. So the first question I have for you is, do you have a job outside of creating content, or is this your primary job?
So my primary job would be stay-at-home dad. I take care of two little kiddos, full-time, every day, all night, especially with a 2-month-old. That never ends. And then this would be my side hustle, if you will.
Gotcha, gotcha. Well, congratulations on that. So, let me ask you, what kind of hobbies do you have? Do you like to go hiking, fishing, watch sports?
Definitely not a sports guy. I do enjoy hanging out with the friends, putzing around, mostly fabricating things here and there. But one of my most recent hobbies I've gotten into is RC cars.
Okay. What is it about RC cars that you're into?
I'm more of a social anythingist, which is awkward for me because also not very social. But if my friends are into doing something with me, I will immediately jump on that, and anything I can do to hang out and spend more time with my friends is what I will do. Believe it or not, my kiddo, my 2-year-old, is the one who got me into the RC cars. We were doing a garage sale uptown one day, and some random person came to the fairgrounds. We were hosting it, and they were jumping it, and his mouth had just drop every time the guy would jump it, and just, oh wow! So then we bought his first one for him to let him play around with, and he wasn't very impressed with it because it didn't do high speed and it didn't jump. So then we had to invest into a stronger, faster one, and we bought jumps and things like that. And then yeah, it pretty much grew out of hand since then. In a matter of 2 months, maybe 3 months, we now have a total of 12 RC cars.
So what you're saying is that the little kid inspired the big kid to get into some really good
Big
stuff.
big kids, because once I got into it, then my other friends, started buying them again because they used to run them way back when they were, just out of high school and stuff. And they were like, I don't know why I ever sold mine. And they all went out and bought like 3 or 4 each as well. So,
That's awesome. It's amazing how our kids, because I've got two kids of my own, and it's amazing how as they are kind of exploring and kind of coming into the world, how their interests somehow become your interests. It's really fascinating. I spent a lot of time kind of thinking about this a while back, and there's I'm a father of two daughters, and she will like start sitting there playing with her little tea sets and all that stuff, and I'll just sit down and I'll sit there and play with her tea and doing all that stuff, and it's a boatload of fun.
oh, yeah.
But so, I mean, do you like to go outdoors at all? Like take the kiddos out and about? What all do you like to do?
Uh, I like going outside with him, obviously, but so one of the biggest things we used to like to do as a family, we have a 2-month-old, so not so doable anymore. They don't make helmets that small, but that is go UTVing. So
Okay.
we have a nice new UTV that we only managed to get 2,800 miles on before my daughter was born. But that's one thing we absolutely love doing. Like to the point where we will ride for so many hours that my kiddo will eventually get bored of it, and we had to get Starlink to put on it so that way he could have his tablet towards the end of the rides.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, yeah. Again, the things that we as parents will do for our kiddos to, one, to be able to spend the time with them, but two, to be able to kind of do the things that we want to continue to do when they want to deviate
Yep,
off.
yeah, yep. I used to be a four-wheeling kind of guy, and once we had the family, we went, well, that's not going to work so well anymore. What can we do to keep, having fun?
So, do you like to read books, watch movies, TV?
So I'm a weird one there. I don't. TV, I have a very, very, very bad memory, like to the point where my favorite movie is Star Wars, and I could probably collectively tell you about 7 lines from the whole movie, and I have watched each one of them at least 46 times. I just do not remember movies to save my soul, so the TV and movies not really a thing worth it to me because I don't remember them anyways. Um, Books, I was never really big on reading. But yeah, so more of a spend time with family kind of guy than anything than like that. Or computers. Computers is a big thing for me.
I gotcha. What about music? What kind of music are you into?
Oh, so there's an interesting one. I touch just about everything. I will listen to polka. I will listen to opera. I will listen to just about anything. Um,
Wow,
call
polka.
me very, yeah, call me very cultured in that aspect. I mean, at one point I was a event DJ, if you will, not a mixologist, but an event DJ. And it really just opened my eyes to music as a whole. I used to be well, of course, in high school, at my age, we were all into the hip hop and rap, and then from there, my stepdad has always been into punk rock, and that actually grew on me after I turned about 20. I stopped listening to the hip hop and stuff like that. That's also about the same year that I invested into the DJ setup. Um, so I was a kind of a punk rocker through there. And then after I just started doing the DJ events, like, you'd have the, polka events for, VFW, stuff like that. And it actually just, I enjoyed like every type of music I would listen to. I don't know why.
So, what was like one of the biggest events that you participated in?
Oh, it would just, I mean, I wouldn't say big. I mean, the biggest things that I did was weddings and stuff. So I mean that was pretty much it. I mean, when you get nighttime gigs, during the drinking hours is where it becomes fun and also very dangerous because you're buying at least two speakers every time you do it.
Oh, okay, okay. That might get a bit
Yeah.
annoying after a while.
Yeah, there was always a security deposit because it never failed. Some poor soul got too close to the speakers with their alcohol and spilt it all over the amp that's
Oh
not built into them.
no.
Yep.
Oh well, at least you like padded in the price of the event because ooh, that would be that'd be awful. Like the first time that happened, you
Yeah.
didn't have like hopefully you didn't learn
Oh,
about the
it
deposit like through trial and error.
oh, I did. It was the third time it happened before I finally started making security deposits happen. And if nothing happened, they got it back. But yeah, it wasn't too often during a drinking wedding event that they got it back.
Oh no.
It
Yeah,
was
no.
it was either somebody drank and spilt it on the speaker or the subwoofer or something, or somebody knocked them over because they were drunk.
Oh wow. And well, it's why like that stuff's not cheap. Like that stuff's not cheap at
No,
all.
no, you're looking at like $500. You're not like if one breaks, you're pretty much breaking even with the event. If they break more than one, you're in trouble.
Wow, holy smokes. So so what eventually made you kind of go away from that or do you still do it?
I still do it for family. I don't really do it investment wise anymore. Just because when you have things like that, it is hard to turn a profit when stuff is randomly breaking and people are breaking things and you're sitting there going, I could have made a whole lot more had this not been, three trial and errors. And
Mm. Mm.
so, yeah, I eventually stepped away and it was more of it just became a hassle to tear down and set up. And when you did the math, it I could have charged more, but in our area, everybody was charging less than me to begin with. So you try to charge more, you're less likely to get clients. And,
Mhm.
I wasn't cheap because of the fact I've had a history of things breaking.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing too is you run such a fine line with that kind of business is that you want to be able to charge the most that you can, but you can't outcharge yourself or outpace the competitors because they'll sit there and just undercut you, and then but you can't charge too little because like you said you're gonna be out money and
You're not
actually lose
you're
it
gonna
on
be under overhead.
yeah oof yeah that definitely definitely sounds like almost one of those situations where you want to build like a cage around you kind of thing. It's like you got this beautiful venue and all this stuff and everything's all like nice and fancy looking and then there's you just standing in the corner somewhere with just a giant like barbed wire cage around you and your stuff. It's
Yeah,
like
because it
everyone
never
stay
failed.
back.
You could I built out of, two by fours or one by ones technically in cloth and everything, a big booth around me, right? So I could keep them like 15 feet out, and there was a table out there where they could write their it never failed. Somebody's drunk uncle wanted to come back and see the equipment. It never failed.
Oh
And of course,
no.
it always happens when you step away for a bathroom break or step away to get a drink or
Mm-hmm. Oh my
then you come back
goodness.
and you found drunk uncle back there who and the music just going "Caw, caw."
Oh yeah, no, I could see that being rather annoying. Oh my goodness, I could only imagine how furious I would be. It's like, oh, this is my life right now.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. So, with such a eclectic collection of music that you listen to, what would you say is one of the more obscure or weirdest music that you listen to?
Oh, that's that would everybody says they hate opera. I actually like opera. Do I understand it? No, but it still hits me in the feels. So I don't speak French in any means, but I will still listen to it. And a lot of people just think it's just weird that I will listen to music that I don't understand.
I mean, that's the thing about music is, it bridges cultures. Like it spans. It's like food. Like you got food, something that's delicious. It doesn't matter what language you speak. You understand that it's good. Same thing with
Yep.
music is that there's something about it, regardless of whether you understand it or not, it's good. It's something that hits you. So yeah,
Yep.
it can definitely bridge, the kind of cultural divide that's around the world.
And I'm funny. The older I get, the more I sit there and scratch my head at how people listen to rap. I used to love it. I used to listen to it all the time. Now I sit there and go, I can't make out what they're saying anymore. I'm getting old.
See, what's wild is like me personally, I've got a pretty narrow like musical ear kind of thing. I tend to listen to things like country, rock, a little itty bitty bit of rap, but it's got to be like very ultra specific. Like if you start getting into like uh uh like the rap where it's just nothing but how do I put it? Like anti-police or talking about women or this and
Mhm,
it's like I tune out of it. I just can't kind of thing. It's
mhm.
like okay, like time to move on and go on to the next thing kind of thing. But like those there's those certain rap artists out there that do have like a really good like like sound to them as well as kind of the vibe. Like you said it before, that kind of hits you in the feels
Mhm.
that just does register with me every once in a while. It's very rare, but it happens.
Yep, I have a few rap artists that I like listening to a lot, which we won't get into because they're a little on the religious side. So, but yeah, I do really like them. And that's one of those things. Like they're not specifically talking about women, and they're not specifically talking about you know anti-police, things like that. It's like, all right, I can get behind this. I mean, it's not that I have anything against those rap artists that do. It's just the other side of it resonates with me better.
Mm-hmm. No, I hear you there. And one of the people I've been listening to here a lot, oh, what's his name? McDonald, something McDonald.
Tom McDonald, Tom
Yep,
McDonald. Yep,
yep,
him
yep,
and him and Dax.
yep. Then there's Jelly Roll. I've been listening to him a lot here lately, and
Yep,
like I mean, there's so many people out there nowadays that are just they just got the talent kind of thing. And
yep.
again,
And
like
it
I said,
doesn't matter the lyric, right? They have enough talent to push the anti-normal lyric.
exactly. That's 100%. So let me ask you this: what would you do if your ability to create mods was no longer an option to you? Let's say one day you came home and the PC was broken for one reason or another. Let's say somehow that drunk uncle found your home, poured a whole bottle of booze onto your computer. What would you do in its place?
Family. It'd be simple as that. Like every day, I tell myself I want to get away from it to begin with and do nothing but family because you only get so much little time with them as they're young anyway. So it would be in a heartbeat. I would drop it and do nothing but hang with the kiddos.
That's a good answer. I like that answer. So has it always been a dream of yours to create content such as your mods and stuff, or do you feel like you just kind of fell into it?
I fell into it. 19, I the only reason I got into it is I was sick of no mod did specifically what I wanted. And I couldn't even tell you to this day what it was that I wanted anymore. It was some small edit of an in-game thing that just annoyed the heck out of me. I'm like, oh, let's go see if I can figure it out. And all of a sudden I was like, oh, now, mind you, I pick up on things like this pretty quickly, so I'm not making fun of anybody or saying anything. This is a lot easier than I expected it to be. Like, it's not easy by any means. Once you start diving really deep in, it gets way more challenging. But yeah, no, by no means was it ever an intent that I wanted to do it. I I mean, probably in high school at one point, my ideal thing was video game design, but I don't remember it.
Okay, okay. So let's see. What kind of family dynamic do you have at home? You mentioned a couple of kiddos there. Um, you got the wife and
Yep, I have a wife for 15 years now, so we were high school sweethearts. Um,
congratulations.
Thank you. We were together for 10 years before we got married. And then 2, 3 years after that, we had our first little one, or got pregnant with the first little one. I didn't. She obviously is the one who got pregnant. Um, and then we had him, and then he was 33 days premature, so we were told we had to wait 18 months before we could have the second one. And we got
Oh
lucky. We have a
wow.
boy and a girl, and those are the
Oh,
only two we plan on having. So,
well, congratulations. That's awesome. So one thing, the reason I ask, about the family dynamic is in your case, it's going to be a little bit different of a question to ask because you're a stay-at-home father. But how do you create that balance between the home life, hanging out with the wife and kiddos, and creating your mods? How do you create that balance?
so unfortunately, with me being ADHD, there isn't a balance. It is whatever my brain decides to hyper focus on that day. So if I wake up and this is the day I'm spending with my kids, this is, the week I'm spending with my kids, I do nothing for that whole day or nothing but that whole week of spending time with them. And then vice versa. If I wake up and I need to focus on this mod, there's a bug on it. I absolutely have to get it fixed. I'm obviously still taking care of them, but I hyper focus that mod and get it pounded out as quickly as possible.
Okay, I gotcha. And do you like to travel?
Yeah, we actually have toned down on that lately too since we've had kiddos. But before we had kiddos, we used to go to Florida twice a year, and um, we would, take a month off and do that trip for a full month every time.
Oh wow.
Each time we went for twice a year, yeah. So we would go down, a week all the way down, spend a week or two down there, and then a whole week back up. Driving a different route on the way back. So we
Oh
used to
wow.
love it. But then we had kids, and kids don't really tend to love to sit in a vehicle for a week straight.
No, they kind of start throwing little temper tantrums after a while. They tend to get bored pretty quickly.
Yep.
So, as a Floridian nowadays, you mind if I ask whereabouts in Florida?
Pensacola was our number one visiting spot.
Gotcha. It's a nice area up there. So,
Actually, was our destination wedding as well,
oh, very nice. Okay.
which unfortunately fell during COVID, so it got pushed back a year. But they closed the borders on the week of our wedding day, and they
Oh
wouldn't offer a
no.
refund. Yeah, they wouldn't offer a refund on it either. So we ended up we still got married because we were dead set on a date. Um, so we got married locally, and then the following year we had a reenactment or whatever you want to call it, a renewal of vows there instead.
Wow.
Obviously, with a lot less of a turnout because we had already been married and most people have already went to the real one. So
Yeah, I could imagine that the quote unquote redo is a lot less impactful for friends and family than the real deal. So yeah, It'd be a little hard to get people to travel for something like that.
Yeah, we even had to subsidize or had somebody step in as the best man because the best man couldn't even make it.
Oh no. So, if money was no object, where would be like your dream travel destination?
Ooh, I really couldn't tell you that one. I really have no place like that money isn't the object to go to. It's more of a language barrier that would be the issue.
Okay.
If the language barrier wasn't the issue, probably either Greece, probably Greece.
Okay. And what is it about Greece that kind of draws you to it?
I don't know. It's just something about the architectural design back in the day of Greece is, interesting to me. I doubt my wife would say the same. She would probably say something like Paris, but opposites attract.
Well, and I'm right there with you. I've said like Rome, Greece, like that kind of general area, just because of the kind of historical relevance that it has. I mean, me personally, I love the like the old uh, Greek and Roman like culture, the mythologies and all that stuff, and then you throw in like the architecture, like you said, the like the Parthenon, the Pantheon, the like Roman Colosseums, all that kind of stuff. Like all that stuff really kind of stuck to me. So I agree with you that that would be definitely on the to do list.
Yep. And
So
then you got the wife who goes romantic, romantic, Paris, Paris.
oh yeah, no. I don't know. It's one of those where I think I would be able to talk my missus into Greece because I think that we'd be able to find at least some spots that may hit a little on the romantical side, but I don't know.
Yeah.
One of those that I'd have to start like slipping it in like very early on. It's like, oh hey, she's reading a magazine and almost like a whole Christmas story thing. Just start placing little like pages like in a magazine or have like an email just kind of pop up on her phone kind of thing. It's like, hey, did you know Greece is like the number one beach tourist destination in all of Europe? But so what inspires or motivates you?
uh, it used to be my wife. It still is very much my wife, but has definitely leaned more towards my children lately.
I completely understand that 100%. One thing I've said numerous times is that the amount of focus and drive that takes over the moment you get to see your kiddo for the very first time, like it just
Mhm.
hits you like a lightning bolt.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for the longest time, the wife was the thing that steered me straight. I was not the most well behaved in high school or prior even. And then I met her, and that quickly turned around. And then after the first kiddo, there's nothing, nothing in the world that can prepare you for holding a child that dang near fits in the palm of your hand. That
Mm-hmm.
is yours. That you know, premature or not. I mean, the premature thing helps because they're just so delicate. You want to do anything in the world to protect them and protect them from yourself and protect them from everything.
Oh,
So
yeah,
yeah,
and
there's nothing that prepares you for that.
oh, no doubt. And I've never experienced that, like that additional layer. So like that additional like dynamic to the child having experience. I could only imagine like you said, it just that much more powerful of an instinct. It's like, whoa, like they're already so fragile when you first get to hold them and kind of, like welcome them into the world, and then all of a sudden not only that but then shrink it down to like itty bitty kind of, they're already itty bitty like normally, like when they're born in normal circumstances, but then you throw in
Oh
like
yeah.
premature, then it's like holy smokes, like I could only imagine like level of additional drive that's created from it.
Yep.
So what's one thing that people are generally surprised to find out about you?
Mm, You got me on that one.
So, like, let's say, people are, being introduced to you to the first time, right? And you're kind of going around talking about yourself, this, that, and the other thing. And it's like, oh, well, I do this or I do that. Like, what's that one thing that people would be like, oh, okay, that's like almost like, I don't want to say like just surprising. Like, okay, I would have never expected that kind of thing.
Well, I mean, if you want for not expected that I'm a good father, according to everybody else. But no, I mean, a lot of the people are kind of shocked to find out that I, design websites and stuff like that. I mean, it's not a super common thing to run into anymore. I mean, it used to be definitely, but now you have AI and everything like that. So people tend not to even bring it up anymore. Yeah, I can do a web. Yeah, well, so can I in about 36 seconds on AI.
Oh man, I remember back in the day when like you had to learn like all the HTML and all that kind of
HTML, yep.
stuff and be able to do everything and that was just to get like a bare bones basic website, right? Like get the old school like eBay with the bright yellow screen behind it. Oh my goodness. I tell you what, I actually
Yep.
just read a story about eBay. You're familiar with eBay, right?
Yep.
So way back in the day, it used to be this like really bright, gaudy yellow. Are you familiar with that?
I mean, I vaguely remember it, but I mean that's pushing my memory cap.
Well, eBay uh, wanted to change their color scheme around. They wanted it to be like white kind of thing. They were tired of the gaudy yellow. It stuck out so hard, and they were feeling like that was kind of holding them back. So one day they decide, okay, flip a switch, boom, it's white. Their user base almost dried up completely. People were furious that they just went from yellow to white for some reason. I don't know why.
Really?
Oh, they were like livid. So the next day they're like, okay, reverse course, change it back to yellow. Well, then they decided, okay, if we can't get them to get on board with it being white, what we're going to do
We're
is we're
just
going to
gonna
do the frogs boiling in a
slowly
pot.
change it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, slowly change it every month. Just get a little bit brighter till they don't notice it.
And that's it. That's it exactly. Every single day they went 1 degree warmer on their color palette. And they went from yellow, like it just went one tone down or one tone closer to white. And over the span of like a year, it went from this bright, gaudy yellow to like just a normal white background. And nobody cared. Nobody cared after that, but it was that sudden change that just freaked everybody out. I literally just read this the other day and it just, I don't know why, but just kind of took me by surprise.
Yep.
So, what's one of your biggest fears that keeps you up at night?
Ooh, losing my children easily.
Hands down.
Easily.
Yep, hands down.
ADHD, I run through the absolute most worst case scenarios every night in my head. What am I going to do if? What happens if? What to do if?
No, and I'm right there with you. I do the same thing. I know my wife does the same thing. I'm pretty sure that every parent does the exact same thing. It's just one of those that you come up with all these scenarios. It's like, okay, what happens if a tsunami hits and I'm in the middle of the mountains and somehow, like just the most absurd things will come running through my brain. It's like, okay, I'm in the middle of the Himalayas, my kiddos are right there, and there's a tidal wave coming that's 1,000 feet tall. What do I do? And it's like, well, I guess just hold on and kiss your butt goodbye.
Yeah. Hug your kid as hard as you can for the last time.
Yep,
There ain't
yep.
much escaping that one.
No, nope, nope, nope. Unless you're,
Yep.
oh goodness, what's that one movie with, why am I blanking on his name? Gerard Butler and the one woman from Firefly. Oh, that's gonna drive me nuts. Um, it's like one of those doomsday movies where, like pretty much that whole thing where the oceans rise. I think it was like a meteor hits the ocean and sends like a big tsunami out, and basically they build these giant arcs to save everyone. It's a good movie. I think it was. Oh, that's gonna drive me nuts. I'll look it up after the stream. Anyways, so do you have any pets?
Yeah, so we have three. We have a cat and two dogs. To be fair, I have a cat, my wife has a dog, and my son has a dog.
I gotcha. Gotcha. What kind of dogs you got?
So a Chihuahua and a Black Lab.
So I had a Chihuahua when I first, well, not I, my wife had one when we first started dating. And it was one of those where before I met him, would attest, kicking and screaming that it's just a oversized rat kind of thing. It's like I want nothing to do with them. They're just not that appealing to me. Just small dogs in general. You're like, I'm a big guy, so I like big dogs kind of thing. And I start, hanging out with her, and we're starting to get a little bit more like acquainted, and we start dating and like going into like everything along those lines. And then I start to meet her dog, and this little dog was like, he's the only reason I will ever accept small dogs in my life ever again, is that he was the coolest little dog. And it was that whole Chihuahua syndrome that just hooked me. It's one of those that his bark was bigger than his bite, but he didn't care. And I rolled with it. It was so much fun to just sit there and mess with him. You kind of you like gently grab him on the head to get him kind of all riled up, and then he would just go absolutely berserk. You get the zoomies, just start taking off all over the place, and then you start like, oh, it was so much fun, so much fun. That loved that dog.
We have the exact opposite of what you would expect from a Chihuahua. She does not bark. She does not ankle bite. She is like the most calm thing I have ever seen. The only time she decides to assert her dominance is when the 2-year-old goes after her. And
Oh.
then she gets loud, and it's like, and then he backs off, and it's like, okay then.
Well, it's funny because my wife told me that that dog was the reason that like she started to fall in love with me. So the very first time we were like hanging out one night, and I wanted her to come over to my house, but she didn't want to come over because she didn't want to leave her dog at home all day. So I'm like, bring him over, hang out, and we'll just all hang out together. It's not a big deal. And so she's like, "Really? That's okay with you?" And it's like, "Yeah, absolutely." And it's like, "Well, he's a Chihuahua, so he makes messes and stuff like that." It's like we got an entire backyard. Like we can let him outside do his thing and let him come back in. It's not going to be the end of the world. And she's like, "Oh, that'd be great." And then she ended up staying over one night, and we all just kind of hung out. And I was sitting there asleep, and Max was his name, and he ended up coming up and cuddling up next to me, and he was like right in the crook of my arm as I was sitting there sleeping. And she had, and to this day, she still got the photo of Max with his head on my shoulder, kind of with his belly up, and just kind of hanging out there. It was again one of the coolest little dogs. He's the only reason I'll ever consider getting another dog like him. So thinking outside of the community here, do you follow any other kind of content creators or modders or anything along those lines?
Yeah, so modders wise, I do follow a couple content creators. I'm really close friends with a kick streamer named Perkle. He used to be a farm sim streamer back on Facebook. He was known as Mom's Basement. And then he made the transition to Kick, rebranded, and became an IRL streamer. Um, he is coming up here in a couple days again. He just left not that long ago, probably about 2 weeks ago, actually. But yeah, so he lives down in Indiana and comes up to Wisconsin to visit me frequently. So yeah, I definitely hang out and know him pretty well now. We met from Farm Sim. Actually, he was the person I had beta test my very first mod for Farm Sim that I created from scratch. But yeah, so he's my kind of now outside of the Farm Sim spectrum streamer that I follow. But prior to, I guess technically he would have been in it. As far as modders go, I mean, yeah, I talk with a lot of modders. I don't necessarily follow much because I don't really play the game much myself. But I am in quite a few discords that are filled with modders where, we all give each other little hints and tips and helps and stuff like that. So I mean, I'm well versed. I wouldn't say I by any means know a lot of modder. I mean, know a lot of modders. And I'm just as bad with people's work as I am with movies. I probably know quite a few modders and probably have helped them with quite a few of their stuff, but could not tell you the name of a single mod they made.
Gotcha. So, one thing that I've always attest to was just how amazing the community here is in Farming Simulator. And one of the things I kind of see as a, running theme is that every time I talk to a modder like yourself, whether a map maker, like creating like the actual modded equipment, whatever the case may be, is that they always attest to the like kindness and generosity of the other creators out there, the other modders that are out there, whether it's like them being willing to kind of donate time to help kind of troubleshoot issues or actually come up with ideas, all that kind of stuff. I've heard this so very often when it comes to the Farming Simulator modder community. Would you kind of think the same thing yourself? Is like, it seems like a pretty like tight knit community?
I mean, there's two very opposite spectrums of there. There are those definitely that are very helpful and will step out of their way and give extra time, and then there's quite a few that will gatekeep quite a bit. Just like anything, there's two totally opposite spectrums, but of course that the opposite spectrums tend to congregate to themselves, if you will. Like all the people that know their secrets and keep their secrets all hang out together in discords and they don't talk to each other, as about work. They just, play the game together or do this. And then you have the opposite side where there's discords upon discords upon discords. And I would say the vast majority of is on this side where they're all willing to help each other. But there are definitely those that are, learn it your own way. I had to kind of side.
Okay, okay. So, one thing that we were talking about before we started the stream is kind of at least what sounds like a small passion for automobiles. Do you care to share with us some of your little uh, vehicles that you have in your possession?
Yeah, so I have a 1929 Model A. It was my mother's. Uh, have not actually taken it out this year. I'm kind of sad about that. I should probably go fire it at least. It's been in the, I guess would call it family. I don't know if you would call it family. She bought it, from somebody else. So between me and her in the family, for quite a while now. I want to say that thing has been in our possession for well over 17 years, give or take.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it was one of the, shouldn't say first vehicles I learned to drive, but it was up there, probably like the eighth or ninth vehicle that I learned to drive, because it's a 3 speed on the floor. um Not the most challenging thing to learn. It's just, when you're operating with extremely old equipment and the clutch has not always been maintained. So you're definitely learning a very strategic way to take off.
Oh, yeah.
That one's one of my favorites. And then I also have a project that was with me and my stepfather quite a few years running. We took quite a few years off in that project. But we started with a 1962 Chevy Corvair and a 1978 Monte Carlo. We
Oh.
gutted the Corvair, took its acts, whatever you want to call them. They're not, like I was really young when I did this, so I don't remember it. So it's a subframe, so you wouldn't be taking the frame off, but you're taking all the axles and everything off, and we bolted it to the 78 Monte Carlo's frame and put a 305 small block in the front, where it belonged, Chevy. Um, and we put a fuel cell in the back, and it kind of sat like that for quite a few years. Fast forward to me being probably about 1920. I asked dad for the project because it wasn't going anywhere anymore. And he said, "Yeah, have at it." We picked up the project together and again once it became mine and got it up and running. And it was actually the motivation for, or partly of the motivation for one of my rat rod or the rat rod for Farm Sim. My brother's was the main aspiration, if you will, for it. Um, but yeah, it was one of my pride projects I did with my stepfather. One of my strongest memories from a kiddo. Um, and yeah, so afterwards, after we picked it up and got it up and running, and I'm going to air quote this and say street legal, and started taking it to car shows and things. It was registered and everything. It wasn't fully street legal at the time. Technically, it's still not. It still has a correct windshield and no windshield wipers, which windshield wipers are a requirement in this state. But once that we got started taking it to car shows and stuff, the more I mean, DTap stands for double tap. Zombieland is one of my favorite movies. That one I've watched that one enough and enjoyed it thoroughly enough that I actually do remember quite a bit of it. But so yeah, my entire streams when I do go live and things is based on the rule rule number two, always double tap. Um, But, so what I did with the Corvair was we got a bunch of mason jars and we screwed the lids into the vehicle all the way around it, filled them with like rubber body parts and filled them with red ooze and stuff like that. And so it looked like body parts in jars filled with blood, and screwed them on and took that thing to car shows, and people just absolutely loved it. I've had the cops called on me driving down the road a couple times.
Oh no.
They pull over, they put their forehead on their hand on their forehead, and they shake their heads and goes, "It's just fake body parts, correct?" I'm like, "Yeah." And I carry a couple in the glove box now so I can pull them out and say, "See? Squeeze, squeeze."
Oh my goodness. I could only imagine the police officer that came rolling up there just to see that. And like I could only imagine those really off the wall calls, right? Where like
Yep.
somebody's like, "Oh, hey, I just saw X," and then they show up and it's like, okay, it's not even anything close to what's being described. And it's like,
And then they get this call, and there's actually a dude driving around with body parts in jars on his car, dude.
oh my goodness. I've said this so many times that I know for a fact that I just do not have the temperament to be a police officer or to do anything like that. So I get annoyed too easily when it comes to like stupid things, you know? And that would be one of those stupid things to be like, okay, somebody like swears up and down that there's some psychopath driving around with body parts just strewn apart their car, and I show up there and it's very obviously a fake. Like is this like Escape from LA or Escape from New York? Like what's going on here?
It was funny. So the whole reason that we started it, right, was the very first car show we took it to was in October. And of course,
Gotcha.
Halloween team, they were doing trunk or treating, so I screwed all the stuff to it and I never took them off. I absolutely loved it. Once we put them on there, I never took them up. They're still on there to this day. There's about 3 mason jars that have broken, body parts are missing from the jars now, but I
Oh
have
my
never taken them off. I
goodness.
drive down the road. I do 75 down the road with glass mason jars with body parts in it. Don't bother me.
So if money was no object, what would be your dream car? Like completely like if it's an old school one, completely restored, brought up to complete showroom shine kind of thing, or if it's something new, what would be like your prime number one pick for a car?
I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this because I am now a Ford man, but a '69 Chevelle.
Okay, okay. So why the Chevelle?
I mean, my stepfather had did a lot with me in my life, and a lot of his things rubbed off on me, and that's his favorite car. And just because of how much we've talked about wanting to own one for him through all of our lives, that would actually be mine now. I
Okay.
have no rhyme or reason for it. Like I said, I'm a Ford guy. I've been a Ford guy for quite a long time. I mean, hasn't been a good Chevy in my opinion since Square Bodies. So
I mean, I can't disagree, but I would make that, kind of similar statement for all
statement for
vehicles.
Ford and Dodge. And yeah,
Yeah,
there hasn't been a good vehicle since Square Bodies, period.
yep,
That should be the statement. But
exactly.
I'm a weird one now. I no longer believe there's a single good vehicle out there. So now I go for customer service, and Ford is the one that treats me the best now. So
Yep. No, dude, I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you. I completely understand. So earlier you mentioned that Zombieland was your favorite movie. What is it about Zombieland that kind of spoke to you?
I don't know, like, a lot of my life, call me a nerd, call me whatever, a lot of my life, it was just, a lot of my ADHD nights where if a zombie apocalypse happened, what would I do? What would I do? And then that movie came out and it 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 gave me rules, right? Like always always double tap, wear your seatbelt, check your back seat, don't delay in the bathroom, things like that. Like it gave you rules and it's like, all right, you know what? These actually would be good rules to apply. And it like stuck with me.
I gotcha. So it was kind of like the structure that was present in the movie that just kind of hit home.
Right. That and then also Twinkies. I mean
I mean, that's between that and cockroaches. Those are the only things that are going to survive.
Yep.
And you also mentioned Star Wars earlier. Is that
Yep.
one of your biggies as well?
Yeah, so Star Wars is one of my biggies, but again, while I absolutely love it, while I can tell you quite a bit about it, I can't like, it's not one that quite sticks with me like Zombieland does, but I would still actually, sadly enough, classify it probably in front of Zombieland, and that's because it's probably one that has a quite a good few memories with my real father, and also with the father-in-law now is something him and I have in common. So that one, just because I have nobody else family wise that really got behind Zombieland with me is what pushes it backwards. But as far as family wise it goes, yeah, Star Wars is the one that I have quite a few common things with family with. So that one pushes it in front.
So one of the things I always bring up, and I normally mention it when it comes to the oddest or strangest thing that you've seen, whether it's movies, music, whatever. In your case, with the limited recollections of movies and TV shows and stuff, I kind of breeze by it. But I'm going to backtrack just a bit. One of the things I always talk about during the kind of oddest and weirdest is the Star Wars Holiday Special. Are you familiar with that?
I am not, just because probably I've watched it probably 6 times, but I couldn't tell you anything about it.
So I'll tell you this: if you had seen it, I guarantee it's not one you'd forget.
Oh, really?
Not because it's like anything special or it's so terrible. It's so awful. So the Star Wars
I
Holiday
have a feeling
Special.
we're going down Jar Jar Binks territory here.
No, 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 no. I'm talking worse than Jar Jar. I would put Jar
Good, because
Jar on
I didn't think
repeat.
Jar Jar was bad.
Well,
Yeah,
no,
I was gonna say I liked Jar Jar, but I was also like 7 at the time,
yeah, yeah. No, so
so it was funny to me.
I personally didn't have anything like I didn't have the hate that some people have for Jar Jar. I mean, personally, that was just like I'm 42 years old, and it's one of those that like there's the whole discussion with like the original series there and the Ewoks kind of thing, and you can kind of gauge on the age of somebody based on their love or hatred of the Ewoks kind of thing. Well, it
Yeah,
was the same thing for Jar Jar Binks. It's like you could kind of gauge the age of people based on the love or hate of Jar Jar Binks. But it was one of those where Jar Jar I didn't have a problem with, like personally. It was just one of those like, okay, he's there, whatever, not a huge deal. But again, it takes quite a bit for me to kind of start getting revved up about things like that. But the Star Wars Holiday Special, the reason that I bring it up is that it was so atrocious. It was so bad that, trust me when I say it, you would know if you've seen it. So think back to the fourth Star Wars number 4, and when that came out originally. Shortly after that came out, they made a made for TV holiday special movie. It was about an hour and ish long. And it had all the original cast. So it had Mark Hamill, it had oh my goodness, I always forget her name. Hmm. The played Princess Leia. Um
Oh, geez.
that's gonna drive me nuts.
I know it. I know it too.
Me too. I know it off the top of my head. But I just it's just not coming out. But anyways, it had all the original cast, all of them. It had Harrison Ford. It had it even had like stars in it that you didn't see in the originals, like B. Arthur, who was like one of the Golden Girls from back in the day, probably before
Uh-huh.
your time, but
I watched Golden Girls.
oh well then okay. This so you know B. Arthur. She played Dorothy, and
Yep.
it was one of those like it was a star-studded cast. It should have been fine, but the problem is that like everybody phoned in like their worst effort. Like Mark Hamill, like it's one of those movies that was made for the old school TV because uh the makeup that was on Mark Hamill, he looked atrocious. Like his
Oh
makeup
no.
was it was so every time he'd come up on the screen, you almost want to vomit. It was so
Oh
bad.
god.
And I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but it was all Carrie Fisher, Gold Gaming. Thank you so much. I just looked up and saw
Yes,
that.
that was
Carrie
it.
Fisher, thank you. Um,
I knew it started with a C, but I could not come up with the name.
oh my goodness, but it was just so there was every bit of 20 minutes scene where Chewbacca's family is just sitting there trilling at each other, just the kind of thing. And it's just
Oh my god,
no
really?
words, no subtitles, no nothing. You don't know what's going on. They're just sitting there kind of talking with each other in their own native language. And it's like, okay, this is a thing. So yeah, trust me, you would know it. You would know it. So if you're looking to torture yourself, go have some fun. Oh, so one of the most stumping questions that I tend to ask people here on this show is if you can meet any three people, who would they be and why? And they could be people from the past, people from the present. Who would they be?
Oh, 3 people. You got me there. Um hmm.
And to buy you a little bit of time there, the reason I ask this is because it kind of gives us a window into who you deem of value. So it's one of those like if you say, "Oh, well, my grandfather, I would love to kind of got to know him." Like my grandfather would be on the list because he was a World War II vet. Was it World War II? I think it was World War II. He was a
Would that
paratrooper, got caught behind enemy lines, kind of thing, and he died before I really got a chance to know him. Like I was a baby when he passed, so I would
got
love to have met him, kind of thing. So it's kind of a window into the people that you deem kind of value, kind of thing.
so, I mean, I could come up with one. The other ones are hard because so with me being me, the only people I deem value are family, and the ones that I classify are families are the ones that I actually got to know and love, right? Um, everybody that I would deem family and that would, truly be valuable to me, I have met. Other than, yeah, no. I think I've really met every single person that I would classify as family and up. You know what I mean? Like, not to try and be shallow, like I don't care about my great great grandmother, but I didn't get to know her, so in my brain, I'm not missing out. You know what I mean?
No, absolutely. It's there's always that kind of familial connection, but unless you've actually like experienced them in your everyday life, it's one of those like
There's no
un-
attachment. Right.
exactly. Yeah. Yep. No, I get you.
So the one that I could give an answer to would be Jesus. I would love to have went back in go back in past even and get to meet him, like, or future. I mean, if you want to talk postpartum, but either way, I would love to meet him and actually just sit down and talk. What was it like back then for real, not what our guesstimation was back then as of right now with as what we would classify, how hard the times were. What was it truly like back then? Because, if you're looking at somebody from back then, it was probably just as great as we see it now. Like technology was advancing, not, obviously to the point of where we are, but it's still technology nonetheless. And, so what was it truly like in the time of Jesus? You know what I mean?
No, for sure. That's definitely one that would definitely strike a lot of people, I think, is somebody that they'd want to at minimum meet or interact with. So, no, I can see that one. Do you have anybody else that you'd be interested in meeting, or like any famous musicians or sports stars or
I don't know if you'd classify me as shallow for it or anti-shallow for it because they're not part of my life. I could care less. Like, no offense, but I don't know if that's something in my brain only. Like, there's not. I mean, okay, a single. If I went back to high school, my answer would have been Selena Gomez because I had a major crush on her back then. But again, no longer a thing. I have a wife. I'm happy with my wife. I could care less now. Like, I don't know if that's shallow of me or what that would be. You know what I mean?
no,
I
I
really
definitely
cannot think of anybody else that I would care majorly. Like go out of my way to try to go to the past or anything like that. If it was even not a hateful Abe Lincoln. Okay, we'll go there. Like, I don't
there you
know,
go.
man. Like, I really
Okay.
don't know. Call me a conspiracy theorist, but I'd love to go back and meet this CIA person. That did JFK. I don't know, man.
Okay, okay. Well,
Let's
you
go
know
back
what?
and see the real person that pulled the trigger. I don't know, man. Like,
Well, I'll tell you what. I will go ahead and let you off of the hot seat, and we'll move on to the final question for this segment here. This is what was your first paying job?
ooh, mink ranch.
I'm sorry. Can you say that again?
Mink ranch. I mean, as long as you're not counting, as middle schooler and high schooler mowing lawns. If you're counting, a real paying job other than mowing lawns and stuff, it was a mink ranch.
Okay. What would you do there?
Do you want me to get into detail or just cover the fact that we fed and deferred the mink?
I think we'll go that deep. That
Okay, okay.
Gotcha, gotcha. All right. Well, like I said, that's my last question for this segment. So now it's time to set our sights to the chat and see what everybody else out there is doing. And I just saw that Dust Bunny is back in the chat. Big shout out to her. Thank you so much. Also want to give a few shout outs of people I see there in the chat. I see Gold Gaming, got Lisa, and we've got Rusty Money and Noah Farms. Thank you all so much for coming out here tonight and hanging out. I see Jody. Alrighty. So again, thank you all so much for stopping out here tonight and hanging out with us. And Dust Bunny, so kind of her to go out and gather up all the questions for us here tonight. So Dust Bunny, thank you so very much. And we're going to start out with the first one being from her. She asks, "Where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years in regards to your modding?"
Ooh, I really hate to see it, but I don't know if I plan on doing it for much longer. I absolutely do enjoy it, but like I said before, family is number one to me, and these kids are definitely not pausing at getting, any older. So I definitely eventually want to hear to step down for at least a little while and grow some real memories. Memory is a huge problem for me, as stated with movies and many other things throughout my life. So I want to do my best to create as many memories as I can before they, get old enough that they want nothing to do with me.
Oh, that's the one thing that I'm petrified of is,
Oh, dude.
them getting to that age where they no longer want to be around and they just want to go hang out with their friends or they want to do this and do that. And it's like, oh, just like that's what makes me
Stay
want to just,
young. Stay young
yes,
forever. But not
yes.
forever because also financial burden, but stay young forever.
Yeah, no, that's it. It's like, man, it's like I wish I could just have you just stay this age forever and not have to worry about you growing up or sending you off in the world or anything along those lines. But that's just unrealistic.
I mean, it would be a terrible price to pay, but it would be worth it, I think. I mean, I would be okay with them even being frozen in the time where, I have to change the diapers.
Yep, yep, that would be a small price to pay for that one. I agree with you there. All right, Dust Bunny, thank you so much for your question. We got one from Noah's Farms. Says, how many kids do you have?
I got two kiddos. I mean, unless you count fur friends or for kiddos, but yeah, as far as humanoid children, I have two.
Noah, thank you so much for your question. Also ask DTap, what made you want to make mods?
So like I said, it was just a bugging sensation. I really wish I could remember exactly what it was that I wanted Farm Sim to, one of the mods in Farm Sim to do that it didn't do. But literally all it was I got really upset that some in-game mod or, possibly even in a third-party mod, I couldn't truthfully tell you, was either really bugged or I really just like maybe it didn't hook up to a trailer or something that you would expect it to, like our lovely CV or the basic in-game truck, right? Whatever that old thing is, the lizard truck. Where it doesn't hook up to a trailer when it most definitely should. It has a ball, it has the receiver, it has everything there, but it didn't. And it was something that just bugged me about something. I really wish I knew what mod or if it was a base game item or what it was. But on 19, it just bugged me so much that I downloaded Giants Editor and an XML editor to go see if I could even understand it. I do have technologic history with me. So as far as that goes, like I'm like maybe I can understand it. I dove right into it and I understood I don't even know how. I've never read XML, never worked in a 3D modeling program before or editing program even, and just boom, fell in love with it. And within probably a week or two, I was off making the rat rod as my very first mod.
Wow, that's pretty impressive to be able to pick up on it that quickly.
Yeah, dude. Like I started pretty quickly, and I like to say that I fully modeled that truck or that rat rod by myself. I did and I didn't. I started obviously with some random old coupe online that I found as a free asset, but by the time I was done with it, it was fully gutted, fully reworked. I mean, yes, the door, well, even the door panels got reworked. I'm sure there's something about the truck that I didn't touch, but at least to in-game it, right? Because I started with something that was not a game asset. So like when you put the tires in it, if you use the tires, which I did, that came with the truck on FS19, it no longer uses those tires. But when I originally did it, I had to balance the wheels. Like you would expect in real life, you have to balance your wheel. Well, when you download a model of something that was meant to be 3D printed and not meant to be in-gamed, the tires are not exact center of your axle. So when you start driving, your truck is doing a bunny hop like it's got a flat tire, and so
Mm-hmm.
you have to go
Mm-hmm.
in and tweak all of that stuff. So while it's not fully mine, I mean, it's fully mine is how I see it.
Gotcha, gotcha. And that's very interesting because I mean, I know next to nothing about the whole modeling process or anything along the lines of, modding or anything along those lines. It's just one of those where um I know that if I got into like the whole modeling aspect, it would look like a two-dimensional, stick figure drawing at absolute best. or at absolute worst, it looked like just kind of a smear just kind of across the screen. Like that's that's how bad of an artist I am.
I'm not a great artist myself. Like if I were to try to do something completely from scratch, it would look the same. But going in and tweaking something and making edits to stuff, I can definitely do in a 3D modeling program.
See, I don't even think I can do that. I'm very confident in my inability to to do mods, modeling, making a map. Like I would be absolutely terrified if I tried to make a map or something along those lines, because what it would be is completely flat with one spike in the middle of it and be like, "Oh, hey, look at that mountain range right there." And it's just like a needle sticking straight up in the air. Uh wouldn't be good. Wouldn't be pretty whatsoever. But that is all the questions that we got for this go around. So let's go ahead and set our sights on the next segment here called Meat and Potatoes, emphasis on potatoes. This is where we're going to get to know you for more of your modding and content creation here. So, first things first, we briefly discussed your name being a part of Zombieland. And do you want to kind of go into that a little bit more detail?
Um, I mean, so it my name on Xbox, my gamer tag on Xbox used to be Double Tap 1156, and that's only because Double Tap was already taken, right? I mean, come on.
I'm pretty
A lot of
convinced that
my
you. Sorry, go ahead.
go ahead.
I was gonna say I'm pretty convinced that you cannot get a single like actual name in modern internet kind of thing. So it's like
No,
if you wanted double tap, there's no way you're gonna get that. If you wanted like little bunny frou frou, you wouldn't get that one either. Like
no.
unless you come up with like the most obscure name ever, you're not getting it without the preceding 4 to 20 digits along the backside of it.
Oh, you're right. You're probably going to get stuck with "I'm a jamming robot 336."
Exactly.
But yeah, so it was Double Tap 1156. You know, over the years, my friends kept shortening, and it became Double Tap, and then it became Double, and then they apparently Double was too long for them, so they started calling me DTap, and I liked it, so I stuck with it. Um, I mean, yes, okay, I get it. There's a vaccination also named DTap, which by the way now is called TDAP. Apparently, they changed the D and the T around. Did not know that until my doctor's, kids had their shots coming up. I was like, "You mean the DTAP? Oh, we changed that. It's TDAP now." I'm like, "Oh, cool." um, but yeah, so it got shortened and shortened. But yeah, so of course, back in the day, I created it because Zombieland had, I want to say, even just came out, maybe 3 months, not even old when I decided to, flip it to that. Um, but of course, like I said, I mean, zombies, Call of Duty Zombies was already out. If I'm remembering correctly, so I mean, Double Tap was already a thing over there. So yeah, you're not getting that without that 1156.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh,
Okay, I just went in a really long circle and forgot what we were talking about.
it was the story behind your channel name or your username.
Oh well,
S-
then I guess I stayed on topic.
yep, yeah, you did. Yeah. So, do you currently only produce mods for FS, or do you work on any other games that are out there?
Um, I used to. I had actually 2 or 3 mods out for Scrap Mechanic.
Okay.
Um, don't know if you've ever heard of it or not, but
No, I'm not familiar with
um,
that one.
I don't even know how you would explain it. It's still to this day a really cool game if you've never played it. Um, it's been stuck in development, I would say almost a year or two now. We've been waiting for a patch for it. Now we're still getting updates. I shouldn't say that. I mean, a year or two we've been waiting for the mega update, if you will, for it, and the next features, the new bosses, the sticky wheels. Essentially, you're using little tiny square cubes to build whatever type of vehicle your heart desires. You're literally like playing Legos, and then you're putting a motor on and using a wiring tool to wire up which way your wheels are going to rotate, or how your pistons are going to act if you're making a skid steer, or you're literally in control of the engineering for it.
Wait a minute.
So
Is that the game where it almost looks like you're like a dwarf almost? Like
yep,
your
yeah,
character's
kind
like
of,
a dwarf?
yep. You're
I
you're a little tiny dude running around and
Yeah.
building blocks and building cars, and yeah,
Don't you ride
there's
around on a
quite a few.
toilet?
Yep. You can definitely drive around on a toilet, or passenger seat in a toilet. You can't drive as a toilet, but yes, yep, you've seen it. Then you know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what
Um,
you're talking about. Yes.
yeah. So I had a cookbot out for that, and a couple other little mods that tweaked your inventory and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, so that was, I want to say, 2 years ago now. Did not maintain the mod. It was on Steam Workshop. It still is up there, but unless you're running a really old version of the game, you can't use it anymore because they've updated, a lot to the game, but not the core features we were hoping for yet.
Oh
We're
wow.
still waiting for all the new bosses and everything, but they're trying to do a major rework. So while they're doing the major rework, they also don't want to make it look like they abandoned the game, so they keep pushing out actual effective updates, but nothing that the community is like, let's freaking go. You know what I mean?
So the reason I'm familiar, I've never played it, but the reason I'm familiar with it is because I follow a creator on YouTube called Markiplier, and he did an entire like play, not a playthrough, but kind of a play together with a couple of buddies of his, and it was one of those where I almost like passed a kidney. I was laughing so hard at just.
Dude, like, yep.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, dude, we had such. That's why it's one of my favorite games. Like, even outdoes Farm Sim in my opinion. But it's just because, like, you can just do so many random, like, when you're deconstructing things, right? You're like taking things apart, and all of a sudden you take apart and you miss the fact that you didn't quite click on the right cube. So you're one cube too far back, and you come over and back, and then you let go, and there's this one stick of beam that is right above your head that you just disconnected. It comes down, knocks you out, and you go flying around like a rag doll.
Oh,
Like,
what
there's
one
so
of the
much random things you can do. It's just amazing in that game.
one of the funniest things I saw when they were playing it is that they ended up doing these like courses to where the whole point of it is you started on square A and you had to get over to square B, and it was like this whole like obstacle course to get from point A to point B kind of thing. And it was one of those where Markiplier had not played this game before this. So he was basically like trying to learn and do all that stuff. Well, then he's like, okay, I'm going to take control. And he had to make the connections because the whole premise behind the game, at least from what I remember, is that you had to make connections between the like the engine to the drive wheels, and from the drive wheels or from the steering wheels to the actual steering wheel. So like there was like all these kind of like little modals that you would have to work in to be able to get everything to
Yep,
work out properly. And
exactly.
he was trying to learn it, but was kind of doing the quote unquote Markiplier thing and just kind of breezing through everything as quickly as possible because he's not really paying that much attention, outside of just kind of making the content. And he ended up setting something up to where he made a independent wheel uh, that was built onto a long beam kind of thing, but he didn't make the connection properly to the drive wheel, but rather he made it to this little pivot point on the long beam. So then all of a sudden, when he starts driving and he cranked up the power to like its maximum setting, so all of a sudden, him and the two others are on the vehicle, and as soon as they start powering up, this whole like long arm just starts spinning like wildly kind of thing. And he just like completely in shock and like doesn't understand what's going on, but he's like, you know what, forget it. And he just presses the gas and just goes kind of thing. So it's like this giant ninja blade just kind of spinning at a bazillion miles an hour. And he's like, everything's fine, everything's fine. And then all of a sudden they go flying off of the screen. And he's like, no, we still got this. Everything's fine, everything's fine. I was
Yep.
laughing hysterically. Like I said, I almost passed a kidney. I was laughing so hard.
Oh, dude, it's amazing. The things you can create in that game are just hysterical. Like you could create crab walking vehicles and don't even have to have wheels. Like if you actually have some sort of engineering knowledge, you can go absolute ham in that. And then if you have an idea of how anti-physics work in video games, you can like one up it even more and with no wings, no propellers, no engines, no nothing, create flying machines just because you put a piston in and you put a block at the end so the piston is trying to push forward but it can't go forward because there's a block in front of it and all of a sudden now you're leaning forward. Well, if you do like 8 of those, you can actually just tilt itself all the way up in the air and now you can use it to steer and hook your steering up to shut the front ones off so now you're leaning forward and then turn them back on and you're going forward and
Oh my goodness.
like oh.
I remember because they eventually got like jetpacks in it. So they ended up cranking on one of the jetpacks and they they had the vertical wall climb. Like it was literally just like a 90-degree vertical wall going straight up into the air. And of course, Markiplier's turn because they would switch off. Like one of them would do one map, another one would do the other map, and then the Markiplier would go. And that's when he had the 90-degree wall and he starts driving, and he put all these rocket boosters. I think he put like 6 of them going straight up on the vehicle. So when he kind of went vertical on the wall, like he'd run up to the wall and then boop, kind of go like vertical, he would engage the jet thrusters that would make him stick to the wall. And then he would just kind of drive on up with the jetpacks smushing him down. And then as soon as he cleared over the crest of the wall, he didn't turn off the pack. So it just starts like spinning wildly out of control because the front end wants to go over, but then it just kind of continues to. It was, oh my goodness. He's like, oh, we almost had it. We almost had it. I was laughing so hard. So hard. All right, but enough
But yeah,
about
so
Markiplier.
that's
Back to
another
you.
game that I did. I was gonna say that's another game that I did. But other than that, I mean, I made mod packs for Minecraft, but not really. I never really made any mods prior to that.
Okay. So going back to Farming Sim, what when did you start play Farm Sim? Like just not create mods, but actually just playing on it.
19.
Okay, so you started playing on it and then immediately thereafter just started making the mods.
I mean, I would say probably. I think I played for about 4 or 5 months, 6 months before something finally irked me so bad that I decided, Giants isn't fixing this. I'm going to go in and fix it, kind of thing. Or, this modder isn't. I don't remember. I can't blame Giants. It could have been a complete, random third party mod that I got off of, fs19.net. Who knows? You know what I mean? But the point of the concept was this person's not fixing this. I'm going to go fix it or try to or die trying kind of concept.
So one of the things I always attest to is the kind of whole connection to Farm Sim. And what I mean by that is very oftentimes it's not universal, but very oftentimes there's some sort of connection to real life, like either rural living or working on a farm, growing up on a farm, whatever the case may be. There seems to be some sort of connection that kind of makes it the transition of the kind of real life experiences into the kind of virtual farm life experience. Do you have that kind of connection or?
I mean, yeah. Grandpa had a hobby farm. It was a hobby farm. It is what it is. He had beefers. Grew up driving tractors with, riding on the fender with him, things like that, taking the hay bales out. It wasn't, I mean, I do remember baling hay quite frequently, to be fair, but other than that, like that was my connection to it, if you will. Blast from the past. Don't really get to do that anymore. Grandfather passed 2 years ago now, I believe it was. So yeah, that one's no longer a thing. Grandma sold the cattle and end of that story. But yeah,
I
there's a
gotcha.
connection there.
Gotcha. So yeah, it seems that the like I said, it's about I would say so far, based on my interviews and whatnot, there seems to be about a 97% success rate in that theory kind of thing. There's a few people that kind of break the mold, but it's more than often not that there's some kind of connection to that kind of rural living, whether it's like I grew up on a farm, whatever the case may be. And yeah, sounds like it's continuing on. But so you've been creating mods since FS19, whether they are you'd mentioned earlier, and feel free to elaborate on this, but you started creating mods back in FS19, not so much in 22. They were more the port overs, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And was there something in particular that was happening at the time that kind of prevented you, or did you just like decide to kind of walk away for a little bit?
Um, it kind of came to a screeching halt still when before 22 even came out. I was really on 19 only intentionally making mods for friends. I let one of them out, which was the rat rod, but the rest of everything else was kind of private. You could only get it in my Discord. Again, I made it for friends just to play on, my server kind of thing. Uh, Lo and behold, no clue how, no clue why, but all of a sudden, all of my mods got leaked. And
Oh,
not just leaked, but other people laying claim to them. Like, my name is etched into the pace setter. Literally, the pace setter that I edited has, you take the tarp off of the top, it says DTap Gaming engraved into the trailer. And they were still saying made by such and such. Like, huh?
wow.
And it kind of irked me the wrong way. Again, we get back to that gatekeeper versus helper kind of situation. I guess you could have qualified me as a gatekeeper back then because I was originally only doing it for me and my friends, right? I had no ambition to help. To be fair, I hadn't met any other modders yet. I shouldn't, then, right? I should specify that because I did run a very successful FS19 Modders Unite Discord as well, but that's a subject for later. But it actually sparked up because of my mod leak. But anyway, so that like killed my ambition to do anything, right? Because like somebody taking credit for something they obviously did not do. Um, and then fast forward a little bit, created that Discord, had a whole, I think we had almost 3,000, 4,000 modders in that Discord. Where we were all
Wow.
just, yeah, we had probably about 40 to 50 people in two separate, so it was about 100 people a night in that Discord talking. Now, mind you, no offense to kids, but there was a lot of the kids just, a lot of them were kids trying to learn how to mod, us all just helping each other, shooting the poop, stuff like that while we were, working on our own stuff. But yeah, we had a lot of people in it. And it was really cool. But just like any Discord where you have a lot of members, drama engaged. And somehow mine my beta and alpha mods, along with I would say about 30 other modders stuff, because we shared our mods there to, get opinions from each other. About 30 other modders stuff all got leaked one day. Like
Wow.
everything that was in that Discord, boom, out on fs19.net or whatever it was. Again, not trying to call it a website, don't remember what it was. But like everything got leaked, and that was the straw for me. Like, things had gotten leaked quite frequently in there, but it was usually only one or two mods. And then we were able to narrow out who, had access to that mod and they got, banned. But when you had a mass release like that, it was somebody who had access to an admin channel. So yeah, that killed it for me. When you have an admin that goes rogue like that, it wasn't worth continuing it. From that day, I handed off the Discord to a couple other people, and I stepped down and said I'm done with FS19. I won't be coming to FS22. Fast forward to FS22 coming out, I had a bunch of DMs from complete strangers who magically had my Discord, probably from that big Discord back then. I know it had been abandoned, but there, there was, quite a few people there. Um, had a lot of requests to port my stuff forward, because people had been trying and they were doing an absolute and atrocious job at it, and people just wanted to play with the few things that I had done, mostly the rat rod. So I said, all right, and I bought the game, literally ported everything forward, played maybe a week worth of it with friends, and getting their opinions and stuff like that, and then I did a couple. Actually, to be fair, I had shut down and not done anything probably for about 3 or 4 more months. And then another close friend of mine that had helped me learn 3D modeling came forward and said that he wanted to dip his finger into couple things for it, because he had helped me with learning the 3D modeling and the textures, so he wanted my opinion on, or my help, because I knew giant side of it. And I'm like, yeah, all right, I'll come help, and played around. I did that flora and fauna pack with him, but other than that, other than that and editing some base game things for some friends, never really touched 22. 25 came around, and yeah, I don't remember what our conversation was, so I'm going to pause there in case you have a follow-up question that leads into that.
So no, I was just asking the kind of content that you made back in those days. But so do you want to kind of give us an overview of the content you've created so far here for FS25? And
Yeah,
and,
so
and let's first focus on the content that's been released to the mod hub.
Mod Hub. Okay. So yeah, I was working on other things. Star FM, sorry, FMC Star as he is known now. He used to be known as Star Spangled Mods, which is still how he's addressed with Wamsville. Just because I don't want people confused that FMC is a whole crew of people. I didn't want them confused that I was part of that crew, nor did I want them to think that that whole crew had to do with the map. So I asked them to remain Star Spangled there. Um, but anyways, um, I had found him on the farm sim on Giants' Discord asking for help. I don't remember what it was, to be fair. I mean, he had asked for help with something simple. I jumped into Discord. I tried to explain it to him. He struggled a little bit with it. I said, sure, hey, hop in my Discord. We'll jump in a stream, a voice chat with streams screen sharing, and I'll walk you through it. Um, Turns out that somehow during the generation, a bug had generated. So, as a quick crash course, I taught myself really quickly how to map and how to deal with maps, and helped him fix it by having him send it to me. And we were also immediately afterwards working on adding the crop types from Iron Thunder, aka Nadenthal, um, the Canada map, as a lot of people call it, but there's more than one now, so Nadenthal. um, so yeah, he had given Star permission to use those crops, and he was struggling adding them probably about 2 days later. So he DM'd me and asked me for help with that. A really quick crash course again, learning how to do it. I got it in there and working for him. Um, and then there was, a few struggles here and there. We were bouncing ideas back and forth, and eventually, he goes, maybe I'll just give you credit, and if you want to, pitch in and, throw, I'm going to give you credit if you want to keep helping. I'm like, sure, I'll keep helping. And one thing led to another. I got bored one day, ADHD'd out, and made a totally separate map of his same map, the Forestry Edition. Um, at that point, he was still planning on 100%, releasing console, and I literally just got bored. I liked his map. I wanted to play on it in Forestry, so I made it for myself, kind of thing. And now, all of a sudden, we randomly came up with the idea that, hey, let's just make it a bundle pack, a Forestry Edition and a regular one, and that's all it was going to be for quite a while. um, so the Forestry Edition and the Homestead Edition, we worked on hand in hand, completely separately. Funny enough, everything I would do for the forestry edition, I would either forward to him or we had a plan where we would later collab them, push everything together. So once again, his would have my grass, mine would have his grass kind of concept. Because I did the forestry mixed meadow, he did the North American tall grass, which you can plant. Um, we had gotten quite a ways into that, and I got bored and decided to start playing with NPCs. Uh, he got a little ways ahead of me with Homestead while I was learning NPCs. That took about a month and a half to learn NPCs because
Wow.
there's nobody else that did it. Like there's no documentation on how to do it. I mean, there's a very vague documentation from Giants on what you can do with it, but no real hint on how to address it or how to call for it. Um, a lot of playing around later. Got the conversations down, but still was struggling with getting the NPCs to act right. When you trigger the conversation, when you walk up to them to hit R and stuff like that, to actually trigger it. And obviously, I wanted to keep the conversation short and sweet. Um, got that all down. And then was playing around with them, and it's all finished. I had my beta testers run, at that time I was the only one beta tester, so we were having them run both versions of the map. Anything he would do, he would send off to them for them to test. I would send off for them to test. Um, by the way, shout out Chuck. I know it's a little late for the shout outs, but um, he they would go through it and give their 2 cents. And often, I have more than one, so often enough, I would get a complaint of, a minor complaint, that NPCs, we can farm this land, and once we sell all the houses and stuff, well, now that NPC is standing in the way. All right, good point. So I sat there and took that feedback and hemmed and hawed over it, and another 2.5 weeks later, came up with a way to remove the NPCs. Um, a lot of this fast forwarding quite a bit here. We got to the point where we had merged maps. So he had sent his map over. We combined them all. Him and I were sending it back and forth, trying to get the finer details worked out before we sent it off to Giants. At this point in time, he is still in the title wise, anyways, or the addressment wise, he is still primary author. Um, Back and forth bouncing. We get it nailed down to send off to Giants. Giants receives it. Um, Submission issues had caused Giants to literally decline it in less than 5 minutes,
Wow.
saying that they're not interested in it, not interested in it being on the map at all or on ModHub at all. That kind of put a mood killer on Star's side, who had already, because I was doing all the very fine detail tweaking. He had already moved on to another map. He was starting his next project while I was putting the final tweaks in. Um, Once he had gotten that news, he kind of full-heartedly pledged into it and was rather upset with Giants, which to be fair, you don't get any reason why. You just get, we're not interested in being on Mod Hub. As a return, yeah, I can see where he's coming from. I asked him if I could submit it in my name and try everything I could to get it to go forward, because they were not responding to him with tickets, nothing. He was not getting any response as to why. He goes, yeah, whatever, dude. Like, yeah, he goes, you did enough of it. Let's just put you as primary author and let you, handle it henceforth. And I'll pitch in where you need help. This is kind of your baby now. Well, it was his 100% his baby. He's like, it's kind of your baby now. You did the NPCs. You did everything cool about the map. You're the one that's going to make this map stand out. He goes, let's make you primary author and you submit it and put me as secondary, and I can pitch in where I need to, but I'm, off to the next map and, trying to make the next map just as cool, things like that. So fast forward, I get it submitted. I put in a long typed essay on, pretty much in the comment section of, hey, I feel that this map was unjustly, rejected before. There was no detail, no reason why, not sure what happened, but can you take a look at it again? But before I submitted it, I went through the guidelines and I made sure every T was crossed, every I was dot, matching their requirements for it to be even submitted. And never got a response on to why it was declined or anything, but it was pushed through, started testing about a month later, and then it had gotten rejected the first time. And we worked our way through the bugs and got it on eventually. It was probably about another 2 months worth of working on it, back and forth with them to get it submitted. Um, had I wished they had pushed it back one more time, yeah, actually, I kind of really would love to have had them do a full test and not have the amount of bugs that came out with it when it initially released. Invisible buildings and stuff was all detectable on their end, but somehow it was missed when they ran it through testing.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's that. And then, as you know, the Wompsville Placeables pack is just that. It's placeables from Wompsville that I myself designed, uh, or ripped from game and edited, I guess, is also an option there. There's some designed ones by me, and then there's some ones that are from base game, just edited, like the sawmill, things like that. But it was pretty much I had a bunch of requests to be able to use the Lizard Ink and the roller coasters as placeables on other maps. So I said, yeah, why not? Um, the downside of it is, as you know, I am going to be reaching out to Giants to see if I can split that pack up. But as of right now, their guidelines state that they want as many things in a pack as possible and not to be submitting multiple packs that are all, under classification as placeables, or, they don't want 14 placeable packs. They don't, they want, if you're going to submit it, they want them all in one. Um, so according to their guidelines, at least. And again, I read their guidelines. I don't just blindly message and create unwanted tickets that cause delays for other people's mods because they have to take the time to respond to me. Um, I will be taking a ticket out though and asking if there's a way I can split it up into a constructibles and a non-constructibles pack or something. I have to come up with a name for them just because I know a lot of people aren't using it specifically for the size it costs on Xbox or console.
Yes. No, and that was the one concern that I had about it because I think it's a brilliant pack. But yeah, you're right. The size is a bit overwhelming for console players. It's one of those that I know that when I was on console, I would have loved to have had it, but I definitely would have like refrained from it because it's like almost 150 megabytes, isn't it?
147. But on that same note, I know quite a few people who yeeted a bunch of mods just to have it because they're so excited for the roller coasters.
Oh yeah, and that's what I'm saying is like I would have loved to have had it, but I mean, before I had even gotten over to PC Mac, um like I was already at like 70-80% full, and it's one of those like there's certain mods that me as a content creator would have to keep around because of don't want to like dump it out, come back to it later, and all that kind of stuff. But no, I always thought that the pack, like when you first introduced it to me, I thought it was like, man, this is absolutely brilliant because I mean the roller coaster, the playground, the kraken with the what is it, the ship and all that stuff, like
Yep.
all that kind of stuff. Like there's so much stuff in that pack that yeah, it's 150 megabytes almost, but holy smokes, you get like a little bit of everything. And
Everything. You get placeables, you get productions, you get production or products, you get like sell points that sell everything, no matter what mod pack you're using or mod you're using. Like it's a little bit of absolutely everything.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So what would you say was one thing that you never expected when you started creating content for Farm Sim? Some examples I give are the sense of community, the unexpected backlash, things along those lines. From your perspective as a modder, what happened in your experience that you never expected would?
I never expected, never once. As a matter of fact, I swore against it on 19 that I would never submit to Mod Hub.
So, what made you change your mind?
Star.
Okay.
without without Star, you guys probably would never have heard of me because I would have stayed third party on my own website only. I never would have went to itch.io. I would have just you would have had to have known DTapGaming.com in order to get any of my mods. And when I met him with the map and I was, playing around and I found a way to do the only reason I even agreed to be part of the project and wanted to be have my name on the project is when I found out NPCs. I was like, all right, well, now I'm a FS 25 first at something. I guess, yeah, throw my name on it.
So, one of the things that really kind of caught me, I don't want to say off guard, but was really kind of, I mean, absolutely hysterical. Let's just throw that out there. Is when we first got introduced, you and we ended up getting on a call shortly after when we met on Agribusiness, and you ended up kind of walking me through one of your mods that you created that's only hosted on your website and third-party sites. It's not hosted on the Mod Hub or anything like that. It was
Oh yeah, no.
the what is it called? The
Alien Placeable is literally its name.
Alien Placeable. I about passed a kidney. I was hysterically laughing. It was just such a funny thing. Do you want to kind of run us through that?
Yeah, so it is a park, if you will. That has multiple scenes it will rotate through with animated aliens, right? I would say alien, but there at one point is more than one. Um, it was actually a gag mod that I was making for Burkle. The kick streamer, he calls himself an alien, and we all get behind it 100%, make fun of him and stuff like that, or make fun with him, whichever. Um, quite a bit about it, and I, for one day, just randomly found this alien 3D model online and went, you know what? It's pretty close to his logo. And then just started playing around with to see what I could do with it in game. It started off with a completely stationary alien with just a UFO floating. There was no animation to it at all. I got a bug up my butt to try and get the UFO to spin. And once I figured out I could get the UFO to spin, then I decided to add windshield wipers that went in the opposite direction, and then I decided to change the scene of sometimes the alien is on the ground below it in the beam that comes down, or the cone, whatever you want to call it, and sometimes of the day he's up inside, and it kind of progressed for like 2 months to the point where it actually is sitting where there is fully animated fishing alien. He will sit there and cast and reel in. And if it's raining and he can't be fishing, he is over in a different part of the park, standing underneath a tent that is being hung, if you will, or casted as a beam, but with actual physics to stop rain. A tent that he is standing in, singing a rock metal monologue, I would call it, about how he would rather be fishing, and it's America's pastime. It's the whole reason he came to visit the Earth, and just because that is Burkle, like that. Ever since he went IRL, that is what he does. That's his whole life now. Um, so I thought it'd be funny as heck that whenever it rains, he's crying about not being able to go fishing, and when it is, when it isn't raining, or when it is raining, the windshield wipers and stuff come on. But when he's not fishing or crying in a tent about fishing, it progresses throughout the day. I mean, there's at one point he's just standing below it, uh, doing a little dance kind of concept, or standing there waving at you, or you know, depending on the time of day, it moves on. Um, another thing he does is around it's been a while since I programmed this. I want to say 2 in the afternoon in game. He is doing the Thriller dance from Michael Jackson, but to a completely AI generated Thriller, the Alien Thriller song. This is an alien thriller. Um, song, and he's doing that dance. And what else does he do? At around noonish, he flies around the map, blasting. I want to say about 12, maybe anywhere from 8 to 12. I don't remember exactly how many different AI songs, but it's all safe to use on YouTube because it's AI generated, and there's no copyright on them. But yeah, so he'll like fly around the map playing random AI music, and you'll be, randomly farming, and all of a sudden you'll hear this random music going off, and looking around, and there's UFO flying over you while you're doing your tractor. And I had to keep it small, dude. I wanted to do so much more with that. That was such a fun project. I wanted to put at one point while he was flying around during a certain time frame while he's flying around the sky, I wanted to put an upside down cow dangling underneath him, kicking its legs, and like he's abducted a cow. But like the more and more animations you add, it gets so big, dude. Like I don't even remember how big it is right now, but it is not a small mod. But it's just because there's so many animations in it, and animations alone will eat up space. Like it's
Oh,
got
no
to
doubt.
render each leg and each frame movement. It has to remember, so that's all encoded into that.
Wow.
But yeah, dude, it was a blast of a pet project.
Oh, I have no doubt about it. I mean, just getting to see it, kind of secondarily through you, and I'm sitting there just like, wow. Like, and of course, my brain, because I do the Agribusiness Tonight show, and I sit here and create, the content and all that stuff. Like, my brain's like, okay, what would I ever use that for? And I couldn't come up with a use case for it, but I'm like, I still want it
Yep.
because it's one
And
of
that's the
those.
point. Everybody's like, "Oh, it's farming sim. It's farming sim. It's not farming related. I don't want." No, man. It's a game. It's whatever the modders make it.
Yep.
Like that's the whole point. It's a game. It's not real life. You want real life farming? Go buy a farm.
Yep.
It is a game. Have fun.
Like, and like I said, I was the whole time we're sitting there talking, I'm sitting here just running through all these, like, could I integrate it into a thing? Could I do anything along those lines? And it's like I can't think of anything that I could kind of bring this into the stuff that I do, but I still want it. And it's just one of those, like, I almost never have those kind of moments where I'm like, I just want this thing because I want it, kind of thing. Because I'm
Mhm.
always sitting there because I'm so trained on my Xbox. I'm so always concerned about size, like megabytes and all this stuff. Even though I don't have to necessarily worry about that anymore because I'm on, PC Mac. And it's just one of those, like, I still think about that kind of stuff. And yeah, even though
Mhm.
it's a big file size, but I don't care. I don't care. I just
Dude,
found it
it,
just
it
that
it's
hysterical.
it's an amazing. It was like I said, it was a blast to make, and all of it. 2 months poured into a gag over, for a friend. Like it was 100% a joke.
See, it's
It
times like
was.
it's times like that where I come across something like that. It's like, man, I wish that creators like Alien Jim were still around to just be able to be like, here you go. Like, because I don't know if you're familiar with the FS22 map that he came out with called Washoe, Nevada. There was that one kind of animation that he did. It was very similar to where he had the spaceship flying overhead in the middle of the night. Um,
Yep.
I remember playing that map for the very first time, and I'm getting, because inevitably the way I always play is that because you always start in the month of August and you have to sit there and take care of your farm and get the fields back up and running, whether it's because you got to harvest or you got to do all this stuff, and I never inevitably get busy with doing like contracts and stuff like that to keep generating money while at the same time being able to take care of the farm. And I ended up going really late into the night the very first night that I'm playing on it. And all of a sudden this bright flash comes over the screen, and I literally freak out because I'm like, what was that? What's going on? And I don't have my headphones on, so I don't hear anything that's going on, kind of thing. And I normally would play with the volume off. So all I see is this bright flash on the screen, and I'm like, what's happening? What? I thought something broke on my game or something. And nope, sure enough, I look up and I see the little flying saucer go screaming across the skies, and I'm like, oh no, that's cool. And as soon as I saw your pack, I'm like, it just reminded me of Washo so hard. And I'm like this would be Washo, but cranked up to 11 kind of thing.
It's so funny you bring that up, right? Because I had originally, like I said, started with a completely stationary alien and a stationary spaceship, right?
Mm-hmm.
And somebody brought up that map, which of course made me re-download Farm Sim 22, download that map just to see if it was truly animated or running on a spline. Unfortunately, it was running on a spline, but I was
Mm-hmm.
like, if he has any spinning animation, I will be able to use that. And yeah, unfortunately not. But yes, I know that map because somebody brought it up like, yo, why don't you make it animated? Because it was done on this map.
Oh my goodness. I had so many good memories with that map, and just as soon as I saw your pack, it just immediately the rush of memories just came flooding back. And it's like, okay, I'm happy because I'm remembering all this cool stuff that I did back in those days. And I'm happy because I'm watching something that is absolutely hysterical. So that was a good night.
Yeah, so funny enough, you bring up the map, right? Because that's not the first, or well, I should say it probably is the first, but it's not the only map that has, alien spaceships on it, right? There's some PC ones that came out in 25 that happen to use the same free asset because, again, I wasn't modeling this UFO. It was a gag, right? So we had apparently two people had found, or more than two people had found that exact same free UFO as an asset online. So I had the UFO out and the alien out already, and it was starting to be animated. It was spinning above his head, but not to the extent it is today, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I had like four people DM me going, "Dude, somebody stole your aliens and put it in their map." I'm like, "No, like it's private. Like, how would they? It's only on my website. How would they have found it, right?" Um, so I go look, and here it was only the UFO. I'm like, no, that's perfectly fine. That was a free asset. That's not mine at all, dude. Like they are totally, whatever, use it. But it was a crashed, like they dug out, and they did a really good job at it. To be fair, they did not do such a good job on the collisions for it, but that's a different story. Because you can fall through it, but um they dug out the train and made it really, look like a UFO had crashed and it was sitting upside down and off to the right side of the map somewhere, out in the woods, at nighttime only, there's an alien that appears peeking around the trees. And, they did a good job. It's just all stationary, but they did a really good job with it. They're like, somebody stole you. No, they didn't steal it. It's a free asset. But, thanks for looking out because that is one of the things that killed my mood in 19. But dude, like, I couldn't even care anymore, like, yeah, I was butthurt about it back then, but like you said, now as long as they ask me, I don't care, use it, right? Like, the whole point of Farm Sim is to create new and interesting things for other people to use in their mods, so if somebody wants to use NPCs, yeah, change my conversations up a little bit, but go ahead.
No, absolutely. So walk us through your mods. What mod have you done that's took the shortest amount of time to make, and what was the longest time to make?
Oof. Rat Rod Easy is the longest one, that was over a year worth of, like, in-depth work. um like in-depth work. Like while I had quit Farm Sim, I hadn't fully quit Farm Sim. You know what I mean? Like I was still pushing out updates for it, still working on it, but that was the only mod that I was working on up until 22. Like only when people would report a bug and stuff like that. Um, but it was never finished until 22. Because I never, I got so disheartened by what had happened that I pretty much gave up implementing what I wanted to implement on it since everybody had already access to it on in the public anyways. But so that one I would classify took the longest, not just because of the break in between, but in general, like it was my very first mod. I had to do so much learning while working on it, right? I shouldn't say
Okay.
very first mod. It was my very first original mod, right? I did a lot of in-game edits to like the pace setter, things like that. Like the pace setter, while it's my edit, and my name is engraved into it and my logo is engraved into it, it's not mine. It's Giants's. Like all I did was edit its capacity, made, variable unload speeds for what capacity it is, because at that point in time, we were paying on I think it was a 32x map on FS19. Like it was a huge map, and
Wow.
we wanted like a 10 million liter capacity because each field held like damn near, or sorry, dang near 90 uh thousand liters, or yeah, 90 million liters. Sorry, brain.
Wow.
Of product on each one. Like it was huge map, and there were big fields on that map. Um, there was I wouldn't say there was a single field that if you planted sunflower seed, you would have less than 10 million liters when you harvested it. Like it was huge.
Wow.
uh,
Holy smokes.
yeah, it was a huge map. I don't even remember the name of that map, but shortly after PV County had came out and we all fell in love with that map, went over to that, and stopped playing on that big map. But that was the reason I edited the pace setter to begin with. Hold on, come on. Dogs are outside going crazy.
Ah,
Not sure if
gotcha.
there's a skunk. Not sure if there's a skunk or not, but I don't want to find out the hard way if I'm coming back in the house and smelling like skunk.
No, no, I think that'd be the quickest way for the interview to come to an end.
I gotta go give a tomato bath now. I'll be back.
Yeah,
um,
no.
but yeah, so that was the reason I edited that. I ended up making like a bunch of small things, right? For that huge of a map, we needed a buy all station. Like people made them, but not a buy all station then. It was, oh, you could buy lime, you could buy fertilizer, you could buy. We wanted something where if we didn't want to plant, I forget what was sugarcane, right? Like we didn't want to plant sugarcane, we wanted to be able to buy it. So I
Mhm.
made a true buy all station for us to play on that map, and a bunch of little things like that, but nothing like that rat rod, or rat rod brain. Yeah, yeah, right. Nothing like the rat rod. And then for the shortest thing, I would probably say, I mean, it would have been an edit, right? So probably, oh geez, that's a good question, man. Downloads. Let me go to my mods back on 19. I'm pretty sure. It would probably be the fast track edit that I did. Literally, all I did was add or coloring to it on 19. Literally, that was the only thing I did to it. So that would have
Okay.
probably been the shortest.
So one thing that kind of stood out to me when, like when I was doing your map, doing the map tour for your map, and I was doing just kind of the general overviews and stuff, is that I took note that on like your sell all station, where you had all like the custom trigger points and whatnot. So you had uh, like normally if you go up to like a sell point, you'd have the little tipper cart symbol that was there that
Mhm.
indicate that it was the sell point. But on yours, it's all like customized and whatnot. Um, was there a particular reason that made you decide to kind of customize those parts of the asset, or is just kind of like, what, I just want it to, like have a little flair?
So I had inspiration for that one. I am in no way taking credit for knowing how to do it or anything like that. That 100% goes out to DodgeNet and PV counties and PV rivers. I really like the fact that they did it. It made it unique. It made it different. Um, for when we played it back then, they weren't all like that. There was just like maybe one or two that were different. I want to say Green Thumb. I could be wrong. Don't hurt me if I am, Dodge. I'm sorry, but I want to say Green Thumb was the one of the mods that was, or one of the first mods in that DodgeNet pack for PV counties that actually implemented it. But yeah, so like that PV County, believe it or not, is an inspiration for a lot of the things I did with this map. Like I loved the mining, and all of that from that, and like that I never really seen anything that implemented those all of those aspects into a council map. Um, which is why I went like full ham on it and made sure we added the iron, made sure we added stone crushing to make sand. I wanted there to be productions. I wanted there to be a reason for council players to have mining, right? Like, to be fair, I am no longer no in no way a console friendly player, right? Like I don't usually, I shouldn't say usually. I don't think I've ever played a map that was on Mod Hub. Like I've always been party because I've always wanted a 16x map or larger. Part of the reason that I was so accustomed to unrealistic mods, like we discussed during Ager Farm tonight, Ager Business tonight. My bad. But um, that was part of the reason I was accustomed to unrealistic mods is because we played on such significantly large maps. Um, so like it that 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 map, that PV County or PV Rivers, or no, it was PV County. PV County was like one of my very first. All right, like the constructibles. There's a reason to do the mining. You have to build your bridge. You got to, all of that was, that was my first map that I went awesome for Farm Sim 19. And it was what was a large inspiration for me to push out what I pushed out for council players because again, I haven't played any council maps, so I can't say there's none out there that do it, but I had not heard of any that were, a 1x. And council players were always, when I was playing on 19, asking for maps that, had mining and had reason for there to be mining. And, I wanted to give them the best I could give them without giving them a lock in of, well, my map is set like this. You can't sell this entire half of the map because I wanted it to be, unpurchasable. And I wanted them to yeet anything they wanted, make the map how they, how their hearts desired. And
So,
Star loved the idea, so we rolled with it.
so before you met Star and kind of got in like the whole Walmsville, New York, had you ever had like the inclination to make a map prior to this, or was it just always kind of the whole like modding in regards to like things like the car, like the rat rod and things like the previous stuff you did, the pace setter, the alien pack, things like that. Did you ever have the inspiration prior to this to do a map, or was it kind of more Star and trying to help him out?
So I worked on a map in the past. Never published it, never went public with it. It was a crew of about 18 people. It never came to full fruition. Um, but it was a fun fair map, if you want to call it that. There would have been no farming on it. Literally, like there would have been no room to. It was a 4x map that was nothing but a Halloween town with go kart tracks and things like that. Um, it got, I'd say, about 30% done with what we wanted to. I was still working on making ghosts, go down the sidewalks and all of that fun jazz, right? Like I was trying to replace the pedestrian system. I was trying to make the houses haunted at night, but totally normal during the day. And during the day, all you would do is go, drive your go karts and act normal. And then at night is when the whole town would lighten up and become Halloween. And there'd be little, people, I shouldn't say little people. It would have been, you couldn't really adjust the height of the NPCs or the AI walkers or pedestrians, whatever you're gonna call it back then. So it would have been grown ass, sorry, grown adults walking um, down the sidewalk, in Halloween costumes and stuff. But I was trying to get all that done. But that's where came to an end is I could not figure out how to do the pedestrian system, and we got stuck there. We had probably about 8 people working on that, while the rest were still working on some other assets. And then slowly life happened, right? People started falling off the project. Uh, no, people ran out of time to do anything, and before you knew it, Halloween was over.
Okay.
Like we had started it well, like 3 months before Halloween, right? We had this cool idea. We wanted to have it done, but it never came to fruition. Other than that, no, I had never thought about doing a map. And that was, believe it or not, actually an FS22 project. That map was. But like I said, I didn't really do anything in 22 because that one never came to fruition. So don't really count it. But it was definitely fun being part of a big crew like that, that all had one envision of like a spooky, fun map that wasn't farming based. Like they were trying to open Farming Simulator up to be more than just Farming Simulator. Uh, which I found, cool. That one map, I forget what it was called, had that soccer field on it that you played tractor soccer with. But we had the same concept in that map. Like each corner of the map or each quadrant of the map had something different to do, and each person was assigned that quadrant. It wasn't, the only thing that everybody was hard to heart to do was our placeables, we all want, spooky at night, yada, yada, yada. So we were, all kind of on the aspect of working together on that. But other than that, each person had, you work on the soccer field, you work on the go kart tracks, you work on the bumper cars, you work on the bumper boats. Like each section was something fun. It was supposed to be a fun fair. If it wasn't no longer Halloween, we were gonna turn all of the ghost stuff off, and it was just gonna be a fun fair map. But yeah, it never came to fruition, which stinks because it was a fun project as well. But I classify anything where I'm learning stuff as fun. Not everybody else sees it that way. A lot of people see it as work, especially if they're brand new to modding and they're normally just, playing the game, and all of a sudden they got asked to step in and learn to mod.
So, what would be like one mod that you would love to make, but you just don't feel like you have either the knowledge, the time, or whatever it may be? What's that one mod that you just love to be able to do? It's just something's preventing you from doing it.
Love to do my own map, but time wise, it's by the time I were to get my own map completely done from scratch the way I would, there was a lot of compromise in Wampsville between the two of us. If I were to, and that went both ways. Don't get me wrong. Like he wanted things that I went, yes, but if you require 32 required mods, people are not going to be happy with you on council. Like they're going to derate your map, and they're going to down thumb you and 1 star you if you're requiring so many, because he didn't like the way the homestead farm layout was, right? And to be fair, I can't disagree with him. It's not the prettiest thing, but that's the point of that map is you don't like it, yeet it all, build it your way, right?
Mm-hmm.
But had he built it his way, there would have been 32 required mods that somebody or a majority of people aren't going to like the way we built it anyways, and they're just going to eat it all. And now they have required mods that they're not ever going to use on a map that they built with their own mods anyways, the mods that they like. So it's better to, okay, we're going to compromise. We're not going to run 32 required mods. We're going to do with what we have to work with. I will do my best to edit what he wants, like the cow barn stuff like that. He wanted an American-ish styled, cow barn that is at least dairy, right? But that one specialty cow farm was the only one that he found that he even remotely liked, and he was going to be okay with just doing beaver. I'm like, well, I can edit it to do the dairy. So like there's compromise on both. But if I were to do anything, I would love to do a Wisconsin-based map. Um, that is a little bit of everything. The biggest challenge I would have is I would love in that map to have multiple things. One, I'd like to really go in depth with the recycling system. A lot of people are kind of been implementing lately in their maps where a byproduct comes out of waste and you just take it to the dump, right? And then you get paid to take it to the dump. I would like to use that waste on that map and implement it in recycling in different ways. I would like to fully fledged find somebody who can make trees because I am no good at foliage in that aspect because trees are a totally different thing. Um, but what I would like to do is the area I am from is really known or was known in the past before artificial trees became a thing for Christmas tree farming. So I think
Okay.
that would be awesome to implement into a map. Like you're running through a harvester, you're driving essentially a grape harvester down a field of uh, Christmas trees, and it's pooping out wrapped Christmas trees behind you that you're gonna, take to your local place to sell Christmas trees. You know what I mean? That would be something I would love to have in it. Like I would love to do my own map, but the amount of ideas I have in my head for it, it's not doable for one person. And no matter what I think I could do, I don't think I would have it out before Farm Sim 2030.
I gotcha. I gotcha. And just an FYI, we are well beyond the 2 hour mark. Are you still good to continue or?
Yeah, I'm good.
Oh, good, good, good. All right. So, if you had one bit of advice to give to somebody who's new to modding, what would it be?
Reach out. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Um, get yourself in the Farming Simulator Discord. Once you're in that Farming Simulator Discord, make sure you check out the Discord invites tab because you'll find, yes, you're going to find a lot of Discords that are nothing but, uh, role play server looking for players, role play server looking for players, server looking for players, yada, yada, yada. But you are going to find, servers out there like the FSG and um, uh, RTM and all of that that are actually modders helping modders. Now you can ask for help in the modders helping modders section, um, but keep in mind that you're not always going to get an answer there. I have by far found out that I get an answer much quicker and much more effective and correct answers from different servers like RTM and FSG. So like, yeah, don't if you don't get an answer in that Farming Sim Discord, look for other Discords because somebody somewhere knows something. And if they don't, well then dig really deep and don't give up and you too can make NPCs that randomly actually talk in 20 different languages and be a farming simulator first.
No, that's fan. I mean, me personally, I loved the feature that you put in yours to where you could actually like move the NPCs. Like that one
Yeah.
is something that I would love to see every single modder out there implement that on their maps because the thing that ran through my brain is not necessarily just move them somewhere else in the map, but just move them off map kind of thing.
Yeah.
To where if there's
Yeah, a
somebody who's
lot of
go ahead.
Yep, go ahead, sorry. I was gonna say a lot of maps would benefit from removal of NPCs. Moving NPCs is cool as heck, don't get me wrong, but it is a lot of work to make each NPC movable versus all right, just yeet them all off the map with one click button.
Yeah, and what kind of I like the concept of the NPCs, especially for players who are new to the series. But as somebody who's been well established over the past, 3 iterations of the game, I don't find them of use. And if anything, they're more of a almost creepy factor to me because of how they sit there and they just constantly stare at you, kind of thing. So I found them so creepy that I actually incorporated them in one of my roleplay series on Matapiba and made them kind of like the central focus of some nefarious plots kind of thing within the whole series kind of thing. That's how kind of off-putting I found them. And it was one of those I would love to see every map maker be able to just kind of click a button and yeet them off the map, because that to me, I mean, again, it's an awesome feature for people who are new to the game. But for anybody who's established or people who just don't want that kind of visual representation, bye bye, get rid of it. And again, it would serve
Yep.
the game so well, because that's what this game is known for, is having that kind of a la carte kind of feel to it, if that makes
Mm-hmm.
sense.
Yep. Do it yourself. That's the whole reason mods exist. Now, I will say, I think the NPCs would have been so much more well received if they would have given the server owners the option to shut off accepting contracts from the menu.
Can you elaborate
So
on
when
that?
I start up when I start up a server, right? Like if I run a dedicated server and I'm running a role play server, right? If I had the ability to shut off accepting missions from the escape menu, NPCs would have been so much more well received, because there is a part of the NPCs that people don't understand. You can go accept your missions from the NPCs.
Okay.
So if I had the option as a roleplay server to shut off, I could create a Lua, but then console players can't play on it. So if there was an in-game option to shut it off, NPCs would be so much more useful, because in order to do contracts, you now have to go to that NPC and see which fields they're offering contracts for currently.
Okay. No, that makes a ton of sense. That would be kind of a cool little feature.
Now, that being said, Wamsville does not have that incorporated into the NPCs, because that would have been so much more work for something that nobody would have used, because there's no way to shut it off. And in the end of the day, humans are laser. We were just going to hit escape and we're just going to accept our quests there,
Yep.
or missions.
Yeah, no,
But if, as a
and
server owner, I had the option to shut it off, now I'm forcing you to do it. You want to role play? Role play for real.
yeah. No, and that's the thing is, in theory, that would be a great option, is be able to, again, it'd be one more step towards a realism aspect kind of thing that would be really kind of cool. Is like, hey, you've got to go to these people in order to accept contracts and kind of go from there. Yeah, I think that's a really interesting idea.
And when
So,
you're talking to them, it's not just accepting them, right? Like when
mhm.
you're talking to them, they give you yes or no answers. Like you're actually have a conversation with them. Do you need to borrow the equipment? Yes or no. Like it's so much more in depth and realistic, but nobody uses it because escape missions accept.
No, and yeah, I'm right there with you. I do the same exact thing. It's escape and missions. That's all I do. I
Yep.
I think I accepted one contract from the NPC, and that was it, kind of thing. It was I just decided one day I got bored, and it's like, okay, what did the NPCs say, kind of thing. What do they actually do? And it was when it was very early on, and it's like, okay, click, click, click. Okay, I'm done with this. And now they're just
Yep.
creepy.
And that's what it is, right? That's why I did with what I did with Wampsville, is because yeah, you're gonna talk to the NPCs because cool, they're new NPCs. They have something wacky and silly to say, and okay, well, I talked to the NPC and they don't say anything new, so now what? Well, you eat them off the map, or okay, let's give you a reason to have them. Let's give them each a house, and then you can move them to said house if you don't like where they're currently standing. And on Homestead, it was very well implemented. I gave him an objective to do 2 or 3 NPCs, and he went whole ham. Every single NPC has a house and a place it can go, like and a buildable house at that. Like I had I had more time, I probably would have redid Forestry to have every single NPC have their own buildable house. But at that point, I was only planning on doing 2 or 3 because I didn't want to take up that much real estate. And okay, well, now you only have 2 options to put them somewhere if you want to keep them on the map, because they're, fun for new people joining a dedicated server to join, go talk to, that have never talked to them yet, but you don't necessarily want to talk to them anymore. So I was
So
like, well, let's give them a trailer park instead and move them all there. And now they're off on one chunk of property together and you have everything else to use.
yeah, no, exactly. So one thing that I find very interesting with most modders I've talked to is that they inevitably start out by playing the game and kind of getting into it kind of thing, but then eventually that whole kind of modding life kind of takes over and the playing kind of goes by the wayside. It's very rare that the people who do the modding is like part of their kind of daily basis. Do they very rarely ever get time to actually play and enjoy the game? Are you kind of in that same boat to where you're mainly focused on the modding aspect rather than actually enjoying it and playing it?
Yeah, so I enjoy modding it way more than I ever enjoyed playing it. Um, Modding it killed the game for me, to be fair. Like it's not fun. I would much rather be on the back end learning the new ends and figuring out what I can do next and things like that than what I ever had playing. Now, don't get me wrong, I had a lot of fun playing with my friends, but single player farming is just like blah. So I will get on and play with my friends when my friends actually come back to the game. A lot of them, squirrel out just like me. A lot of my friends are ADHD, so they will go, oh, I'm gonna go play this game for a week. I'm gonna play this game for a week. I'm gonna play this game for a week, and 3 months later they come back. Hey, is the server still up? What do you think?
So
I
from
got bored of waiting, guys. Like I took it down and I used it to test.
so from the modding aspect of things, what feature that came out for FS25 were you like the most excited about? It's like, you know, from that modder's lens kind of thing. Like if I were to sit there and say, okay, what was my most favorite feature that was coming for FS25, I'm going to be looking at it from either the creating lens or from the gaming lens, like from that kind of perspective, like the water ripples or the, God rays, things like that. But what was that one feature that from your modder's lens that you were the most excited for?
I haven't done anything major with it yet, but constructibles, man, like that was the wow factor on FS19's PB Rivers, or PB County, like I said, like that wow factor of oh, you drove up to a bridge, that bridge is out, you got to build it, um, and then to up that, the destructibles, that was
Yes.
so much more than what I was expecting. The fact that a tornado could come through and rip your bridge back down, wow. Like I do want to do something with it, but unfortunately, once again, Wamsville doesn't have any rivers going through it, so we weren't able to implement it. But that's one thing that I would have loved to have done was put, a bridge you had to build, and guess what? If that bridge gets hit by a tornado, sorry, you're rebuilding. And it gives you replayability, like in my opinion, like yeah, okay, I got to build the bridge once, so that's I beat the map now. Well, nah, nah, you keep playing, that bridge is gonna get taken back out, or your house is, your player house is gonna get destroyed because a tornado hit it. Or, that aspect, like if every building, like even let's say you're not into constructibles right off the bat, right? Like let's say I made a map, and when you first play the map, everything is built, starts off constructed, ready to roll. But I crank up tornadoes, how often they happen, like I did or in Forestry Edition of Wampso, and I crank it up. And now you have a tornado happening every year, guaranteed. Well, now every single year you have a chance that you need to rebuild your house, or you have a need to rebuild your barn, or you need to. Everything is a destructible, but you started off like a normal farm. You bought a fully workable, or you inherited a fully workable farm from grandpa, but if a tornado hits your cow barn, all your cows are gone, and like that would be so much fun and so realistic to me. Like that would have been wow if they would have actually went full ham with it.
No, absolutely. And that was honestly one of my favorite features when they were announcing it is, you know, not necessarily constructibles. I love the constructibles, and I wish there were more modders that were kind of focusing on that to kind of bring more assets to the game. But what I absolutely loved was the premise of the destruction that can be brought to the game. Because if you understand like the process of farming simulator kind of thing, then there's very few things where you're going to actually experience some kind of ramification to your product or to your farm kind of thing. The introduction of, the hail and the tornadoes and things like that brought an element of, you know the unknown to the game. You know what I mean? And it's one of those where having that as a part of the game really kind of intrigued me. It's like, okay, I could go through like 1 year and then all of a sudden half my crop is destroyed or half of it's gone because the tornado went ripping right through the center of the field kind of thing.
Mhm.
And it was one of those like, it actually introduced a consequence, not necessarily through your actions, but that was really all we could ever experience was like, oh, hey, I forgot to put down lime or I forgot to plow or whatever. Like it was just some kind
Yep.
of stupid mistake that you'd make in order to see a repercussion. And all you were getting necessarily was a yield repercussion, but you weren't getting like a visual representation of your mistake. And one of my favorite mods from back in FS19 was the seasons mod, where it would introduce
Mhm.
things like germination failure or withering of the crops or the degradation of the swaths that you put down. Like if you're making hay and you left it on the ground too long, it would deteriorate and disappear, kind of thing. So there was all those kind of negative consequences that came along with that mod. Um, so yeah, I'm right there with you. I absolutely loved that in concept, and I wish that there was like I wish there was something a little bit in addition to, and I know there's a mod out there. I think it was the realistic weather mod that kind of
Yeah,
adds additional.
let me go ahead and further that. Like that's one of my favorite mods by Arrow, dude. Like the realistic weather, but I believe it's Arrow. I could be wrong on that. But dude, like I got a chance to throw that on a single player, and the fact that your crop randomly starts on fire and you have to run out there with a cultivator and make circles around it so it doesn't spread through your whole field, and that you have to irrigate. Like, oh my goodness, dude! I really hope they bring that to the next farming sim built in, dude, because that's oh,
Exactly. It's that, and that's it exactly. Is if you're not paying attention or you're just kind of being lackadaisical or whatever, you could lose everything. And those are the
yep,
kind of like features that I wish was implemented with this particular kind of quote unquote weather system. Like these are all things that like real farmers have to deal with on an every year basis. It's like there's reasons why so many of these small farms like go by the wayside is because they have one bad season and it wrecks them completely. They either have to take out loans or they have to do something in order to keep the farm going, kind of thing.
yep,
But one bad season and you could be done, completely done,
yep.
kind of thing. And
And
that's
then
just
let's
go ahead.
sorry, go ahead. I was gonna say, let's build upon that further. While you're implementing all of these, give us an insurance game, part of the game. You have to pay for your insurance on the field, and you get to take the risk on whether or not you're gonna pay insurance that month or whether you can afford insurance that month. If you don't pay your insurance and you catch fire, you just lost your profit. But if you happen to cover your insurance, you had that part of your crop covered, so you get a payout once, the hectarage is calculated on how much burnt.
And yeah, that'd be an awesome addition in my opinion. I mean, again, it's all those kind of, and I would think that that would be a pretty easy addition to make, kind of thing. Is I don't know. I would think, and this is just my way that my brain works, and you being the modder here, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. But if creators like Arrow is able to make like the realistic weather mod, I would imagine it'd be very easy to implement in the full game, kind of thing. Um,
Yeah.
from like Giants' perspective, even with like consoles being a part of the mix, kind of thing.
So that's where a little bit of it comes a struggle. Next gen console, probably. Current gen console, I don't see them handling random fires in multiple fields at the same time, and things like that very well. I I I didn't get a chance to play with the realistic weather enough to know whether or not there's actual fire or if it's just like a fog effect coming off, and I really don't know much, enough about it to know whether or not it would be doable. The moisture level would I would say if Giants was gonna do it, they would do it as a DLC, just like precision farming and all of that, right? Because then you have the option to play with it. You could have the menu option, but that's gonna add a lot of menu excuse me, a lot of menu options for, do you want moisture on? Do you want, flooding to be on? If you do have moisture on, do you want droughts on if you do have moisture on, or do you just want it to affect your field yield? Do you want, your livestock stock is going to leave footprints in the mud, or because that's part of realistic weather. If it's raining and deep snow is on, stuff like that, or the livestock is gonna leave footprints, quote unquote, um in deep snow. Like, all of that is gonna take a hit on a console at the current state that console's in. Next gen, with them rumored to be having 16 core processors and 8 core processors from Sony, um, probably could handle that better. But as far as the current state of them, I don't see it handling all of the different things happening at the same time very well.
For sure, for sure. I can see that. So, so far, what was the most memorable moment of your modding career so far here in FS?
It would have to be the day that Wamsville got submitted or got approved. Has nothing to do with Farm Sim, believe it or not. It happened to be because of the fact that the day that it got approved, I was in the hospital with my wife while she was giving labor. So my daughter and the Wamsville map both share the same, or mod hub version of the Wamsville map, both share the same birthday. Um,
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Yeah, and then as multiple of you know, it came down that same day. So while my wife is in labor, I mean, not, not moments from giving birth, but still in the same day, um, probably about 4 or 5 hours from baby coming yet, uh, the Wampsville map got taken back down, and I got to deal with texting back and forth or messaging back and forth with Giants on how I made the NPCs happen because no fault. I do not blame the modder at all. But one of the modders messaged one of the Giants teams and thought that I had broke into the um, data folder or the locked folder of the base game in order to make it happen, which was not the case. It shocked me that Giants didn't just immediately respond saying to that person saying, no, this is fully accessible information that is in our shared data and documents at how to do it. Instead, they took it down and decided to message me how I did it. That kind of made me scratch my head, like, how do you not know what's in your own shared documents folder? But nonetheless, yeah. So while I'm in a hospital with my wife and my son, and mama's in labor but not fully in labor, you know what I mean. I'm dealing with messaging back and forth between giants. So I'd say that would definitely be my most memorable moment.
So what you're saying is that you went from really really highs to really really low, back up to really really high when it comes to approval, removal, baby.
It went from approval, removal, reapproval, baby. So
Oh, okay. So
to
so
be fair,
high,
to be fair,
low,
there was
high,
also
higher.
it was a roller coaster. It was high, low, high, bug report, high again. So I mean, it was a roller coaster because I got a bug report that same day too.
Oh my
Dude, your your
goodness.
your 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 shop is invisible. What?
Oh man. So yeah, that's definitely going to be an interesting day. And now was the missus like, "Who are you messaging at this time of the day?"
No, like my wife and I are very communicative. I let her know what was going on. While we were in the hospital, I let her know. I got a DM right away at 8 o'clock. We went in at 7 o'clock that morning. At 8:25, I believe, I got a DM saying, "Yo, Wampsville made it. Congratulations!" Flooded by a bunch of other ones. And about an hour later, a bunch more floods coming in. Yo, it's missing now. What happened? And then I started talking to the wife. I'm like, just I got something going on at the map. She's like, yeah, take care of it. I mean, at this point, we're still expecting her to have to be induced and things like that. It wasn't till 11 o'clock noonish where she went into full blown labor all on her own. Um, But, so yeah, so, like, she's like, "Do what you wanna do." She's sitting on her laptop. Yeah, I mean, she's an accountant, so she's sitting on her laptop doing taxes, you know, post-tax cleanup, or rather, while this is going on. Like, she's doing her work. She's like, "Yeah, go deal with you," you know? But yeah, so it wasn't bad. I mean, yeah, when it got closer to the end where, it wasn't till like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock that it got put back up, and, stuff like that to, okay, now it's get in here. You did this to me. Thing kicking in.
Oh no. I tell you what though, it's impressive that her mind is keeping her, on the work while at the same time having the baby. Like that's pretty
Yep.
impressive.
Oh yeah, and she was like that the first time too. My son was born 5 days after taxes, so same
Oh.
situation. She was, after tax season ended, he was the 21st. Tax season ends the 15th, like, right? So, like, just a few days after, she is still well in full blown labor. They're putting an epidural in. She's trying to get the laptop and type in front of her while they're putting an epidural in.
Oh my goodness. So I don't know if they did the same thing for you, but when my wife was going through labor and whatnot the first time, I learned after the first one, but I almost passed out because of the epidural. Had nothing to do with the epidural itself, but uh again, I don't know if they did the same thing for you, but when they are putting in the epidural, for those who don't know, they actually put it in the spine, right? So they have
Mhm.
the lady
It's a spinal
hunch,
tap. Yep.
yeah, a spinal tap. They have their hunch over and they actually put the needle in the spine in order to deliver the drugs necessary in order to reduce the pain. Well, what they had me do is they had me stand in front of her to kind of keep her still while they ended up inserting the needle. And what happened was is that she was told to kind of put her legs, because I'm standing beside the bed and she's on the bed itself, but she's kind of just sitting down on it. But they had her put her knees on the outside of my knees and they told her to, kind of squeeze with her legs to kind of prevent herself from moving, kind of thing. Well, what they didn't tell me is like, hey, be careful because with her squeezing, that deprives the blood flow. Like it pinches the inside of your legs, right? And she's pinching, like she's clamping down, trying to keep herself still, kind of thing. And she's pinching off the veins that are in my leg. And all of a sudden, I look at the nurse and I'm like, okay, something's wrong. I'm about to pass out. Like I'm about to fall over. And yeah, and sure enough, I thankfully they grabbed a chair right in the nick of time and they threw it behind me. The nurse did, and I just sit down and like, whoa! I've never had that happen before. I've never felt that kind of just immediate sense of I'm going down. And yeah, it was a wild thing. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if they did the same thing for you.
Um, no, I really don't remember that. I think they put pillows between her and told her to squeeze them, and they were pretty stiff pillows.
Mm.
I don't know if it was a safety thing because of that or what it was, but yeah, no, I stood out the side and I watched him pull out the needle and put the needle in her back and everything. Like, that stuff
Oh.
doesn't make me squeamish, so I watched it all.
Well, like I said, it wasn't like a squeamish thing. I didn't that
Yeah.
didn't bother me at all. it was literally because she's like depriving the blood flow from the
Driving.
rest
Yep.
of my body because she's squeezing
Yep.
my legs together.
Yep.
So yeah, it was wild. I've never experienced anything like that. It was like, and the nurse said like, "Oh yeah, we should have told you, but that's actually very common. Is that we've had husbands pass out numerous times on us, and it's like, and you didn't bother to tell me like what happened if I fell back and didn't say anything, like, and I
Yeah.
just fell back, like, well, I guess you're in the right place then." That's oh, I see. So it's all a money thing for you.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
got my eye on
you
you.
know what they say, there's no better place to have a heart attack than in the hospital, so
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So let me ask you this: do you have any intentions on continuing to put out maps, or are you just gonna go back to making like additional mods?
so, I said I do have one map I wanna do, but I don't see me having the time to do it, so I probably won't. I mean, I've toyed with the idea, I've hemmed and hawed over it a lot, maybe winter will put me into hibernation mode, and maybe I'll kick something out, but there's no guarantees. Um Placeables wise, there's more than likely something coming from me. Specifically constructible wise, maybe even destruction wise, or yeah, yeah, can't think of the word now. Said it earlier, can't think of it. Destructible, we'll just go with wise. But as far as map goes, there's no guarantee. There's plans, but plans are probably never going to get set in motion unless I get a royal bug up my butt.
Gotcha, gotcha. All right. Well, that's really the last question I got for this segment here. So let's go ahead and set our sights back on the chat there and see what kind of questions they got for us. Again, big shout out for Dust Bunny for helping out and gathering up all these questions. Let's see. I believe we got one from Majors. Says, sorry if this has been asked already, but has DTap said if he does console mods?
Um, yep, I have the Wamsville, New York out and the Placeables pack for Wamsville. That's the only two that are out. Up until, like I said, meeting with Star, there was never any plans ever on doing console. As a matter of fact, I swore against it, but ended up doing it anyways.
So are you planning on keeping it up, like trying to continue with doing the console ready or pretty much all platforms mods, or are you just gonna kind of go back to what you were doing before?
So it kind of really depends on life. As of right now, like I said, I have a couple more mods I plan on pushing, and those will probably be crossplay. But they're going to be placeables or destructibles, constructibles. Other than that, I really don't know what's in store. Like I said, I got a 2-month-old daughter, and it was a absolute headache and a race like no tomorrow to try and get Wamsville done before she came, and I'm glad I did because, of course, as you guys can all pretty well assume, there's a reason the Wamsville update did not come out till a month after my child was born. I mean, certain priorities happened there. Um, and Star has taken a slight break himself. So I mean, he was pursuing game design as well, from last I heard. So I don't know exactly how far or where that went, or haven't been able to catch up with him in a while, and don't know what I'm allowed to say and what I'm not allowed to say. So, um, yeah. So as far as that goes, yeah. I mean, there's no guarantees, but there's no guarantees that I won't.
Gotcha, gotcha. And then Majors also asks, as a modder, are you aware of the console tree limit?
Yes, I do know that there's a constant tree limit for 30,000 trees. I do know that forestry well exceeds that. Um, Unfortunately, I cannot override it to allow you to plant. So yes, you do have to cut down 27,000 trees before you can start planting more, which is a pain in the butt. But at the same time, it gives the people on forestry, not necessarily what they guaranteed want, because some of them are more of a production based forestry, in which case, I mean, I wish there was something I could do. I tried. I looked into No Man's Land, not extremely hard, but the treatise deletus, if you will, sign. Um, I'm not quite sure how they did it. I didn't, like I said, I didn't dig into it super hard. I didn't want to be a rip off of No Man's, and if I would have put that sign out that deleted all the trees, people would have accused it as trying to be a No Man's Land rip off, and that's not at all what I wanted it. Yes, there's some inspirations from it, but there's also inspirations from a lot of other maps, majorly from PB counties, like I said, from FS 19. That was one of my biggest motivations or inspirations for this map.
Gotcha, gotcha. Majors, thank you so much for your questions. Greatly appreciate it. Next one we got is from Noah Farms. Asks DTap, do you plan on making any maps? Well, we kind of went through that one already.
Hmm.
And then let's see. Again, Noah, thank you so much for your question. We got Dust Bunny asks, or actually states, FYI, FS25 Lipinski map has a UFO flying at night and one crashed in the bushes. Really?
So is that the one that I'm thinking about? Is there also a UFO off to the side, or a UFO, an alien off to the side in the woods that appears? Is that the one I'm thinking of?
Well, dang, I'm gonna have to check that out.
And
I don't remember that.
when it first came out, the collisions weren't quite right on it. So if you walked on top of the crashed UFO, you could fall through, and then you could not get back out without tabbing.
Oops. That's
Yeah.
funny. Let's see. And then Dust Bunny also asks, is there a way to make a campfire mod you can turn on/off?
To my knowledge, yeah, very easily. But the problem is going to be the realism of the fire. You're not going to get that in FS. There's, to my knowledge, no way for you to put a truly animated flame in that would definitely be crossplay compatible. Um, like it would be doable, but there's uh, I can't say it would even be doable. You're talking to one of the very few people that play with true animation in Farm Sim, and I mean, it would be a challenge, none to say less. I mean, especially if you tried to get like it would dang near be impossible to do a realistic fire where it's an RNG on which flame goes at what point in time, right? Like even if it was just a simple played on loop animation, it's still going to be hard to do. In my opinion, like I haven't played with it, so there could be something I'm not thinking of, but yeah.
Gotcha, gotcha. All right. Well, I think that's it. I think that's all the questions that I had here from the chat. So now let's go ahead and move on to our final segment here called That's a Silage Wrap. And that's where we're going to start closing things out. First off, DTAP, I want to thank you so very much here for joining me here tonight. Had an absolute blast with you.
I've had an absolute blast with this too. Like it, it rolled quite smoothly. Actually, I didn't even realize how much time had passed. I mean, you did the 2 hour mark, but it did. Like I said, when I told my wife, I expected this. I know this program, but I don't. I never actually sat down and watched one fully through. So when she asked, I said, probably expect 5 hours like Ager Farm or Ager Business.
No, no, I do try to keep it within reason. Gotta be kind of respectful of people's time.
Yeah.
But no, like I said, I had an absolute blast with you here tonight. And do you want to remind us where we can find you?
DTapGaming.com has all of my links at the bottom for socials, as well as all my mods.
Excellent. And do you have any future plans and projects you want to reveal to us before signing out?
The Rat Rod is planned to come to 25. Of course, that will be PC only. That is, I'd say about 90% complete. But it was also 90% complete before the project of Wampsville started. So it got put on pause when I was in a hurry to get the map done in order, to beat the hospital baby coming deadline. But I probably will be picking it back up here eventually. I can't say immediately, because I am working on updates to Wumpsville already. As many of you know, Homestead is missing some trees at the moment. So I'm waiting for Giants to get back to me on that. That is currently in testing. I got permission to do an early submission of an update to the Placeables pack to fix the roller coaster point of view. So that is submitted, still pending. But yeah, other than that, yeah, like I said, I can hint towards one. I will do as simple of a hint as refer to the Agra Business Tonight episode that I was on to figure out what placeable may or may not be coming. We talked slightly about something that I said I had thought about doing a month prior to it being brought up. I don't remember if that was mine or the one after. I think it was the one after. I had said something in chat about it. So there may or may not be a constructible coming of something that, should incentivize people to do so.
Awesome, awesome. Well, now is the time that I set my sights onto the chat and say, did you enjoy it? Did you enjoy this episode of Farm Sim Talk? If you did, number one, let me know if there's a content creator, a modder, map maker. I'll even talk to a farmer, like just because let's face it, without a farmer, we have no farming simulator. If there's somebody out there that you would love to see join the show and whatnot, just let me know. Let me know who they are. I will do my absolute best to get in touch with them and to actually get them onto the show. Like I said, I'm not able to know everybody who's out there. There's a whole ton of modders, map makers, content creators, farmers, the whole 9 yards. There's no way for me to know everybody. So if I can get some help from the community and get those suggestions in, it helps out an absolute ton. And I've got so many people like Dust Bunny out there in the background, helping me out and trying to bring people in from the community and bring them onto the show here. So again, I want to thank Dust Bunny for everything that she does. I want to thank everybody out there who followed along and participated in the show tonight. Even if you were just out there just watching and enjoying it, I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope everybody enjoyed the show here tonight. If you did, please show me by liking, sharing, subscribing, following, commenting, doing all the things. The algorithms enjoy you doing the show as you're engaged with this channel and enjoying the content. And that being said, I hope everybody has a fantastic day. Take care. DTap hang on for just 1 second until after the outro, and I'll catch you on the other side. All right. Take care, everyone.
Farm Sim Talk with BDD. Let's roll. Out here in the country, where the roads run wide, there's a world behind the pixels that we're bringing to the light. From maps to mods, to the rigs we drive, we're talking to the folks who keep this farm life. John Deere, digging deep with modders so their voices we can hear.